Welcome back to Domestic Turf, Call of Duty fans. It's late night here on the Challengers Elite Series, but more importantly, it's time for round 2 of day 2. We got North America up now, and you guys know the deal. It's us three. I'm your host, Spaceman, and those are my analysts and commentators, Fox and Allie, and this is North American time. It's an exciting time to be a North American fan, and it's an exciting time to be a Call of Duty fan. But first, Fox, welcome back from the break. We got some interesting matchups coming, but more importantly, let's just look at the standings, and after you tell me how wonderful you're doing, talk to me about the standings we have for North America.
I'm feeling good. We take a look at our standings for North America. Western and Eastern, we got both sides, both cardinal directions, left and right at the top two. Just behind them, we see Fantastic Four UT Crew with an upcoming match tonight, as well as Built by Gamers. Rounding it out at the bottom with Higher, Subliners Academy, and Aerial Arise. I'm sure no one predicted to see Subliners Academy so far at the bottom. And not only that, but 1-6 in map count.
Yeah, that is a big storyline that, of course, we will discuss further. And as that matchup eventually comes to our screens, we'll actually go in depth with it. But, Allie, UT Crew and Built by Gamers, they're both playing each other. So guaranteed, let's just say everything else null and void. The winner of this matchup is guaranteed at least third place in the group, and that's just assuming that everything else stays the same. This is a big matchup because, again, you're getting into that territory of, yes, it's only the first week, but you're still vying for a position and shaming yourself up and down the standings to move out of either having to play in the playoff bracket in 3 weeks' time or get into top 2 to get relegated into Season 3. So talk to me about what the stakes are tonight for both UT Crew and Built by Gamers.
Oh, I'm muted. Let me just try that one more time.
Oh, no.
So, I know. No, we're good now.
She's here.
We're
Okay,
good.
we're okay.
It's safe. We're good.
Nobody panic. We're
so
back.
when you talk about the standings with UT Crew and Built by Gamers, it is pretty important because it kind of is like, does this pull you out of the middle of the pack? Because that's kind of where both these teams are standing right now, is they're even across the board. So should either or go up on one another, it kind of puts them in that top 3 talk, that top 4 talk, and that's much better than being top 6 or top 8. So I do think this match is pretty important going into it.
It certainly is, and you look at how Built by Gamers have orchestrated this roster, some of the recent success they've had, and here's a look at the schedule because Built by Gamers are on a different form today, and they actually get to play first for us, so that's a nice little tip of the cap as UT Crew will be going up against said team, and then we have Aerial Arise versus Wester to kick off, or I guess actually to round out the end of today and the end of day 2 of stage 2, but look, Built by Gamers have gone through some roster changes, right? Like they bring in Pentagram in place of Mox, and now Mox is on a different roster, and they place relatively well in the first open event. They get to third place, but they take home a first place finish in Challengers Cup number 7. So Allie, it kind of feels like this team is on the upswing. It feels like Built by Gamers, after a very disappointing first season in the Challengers Elite Series, they re-relegate, and now maybe we have a potential resurgence of these 4 players on this roster.
No, absolutely. And as we hop right into it, we have yet to see Apocalypse on the main team here for Hardpoint. And so we're hopping right into it as our first map. We're on board with Panda. A couple of first seconds going on the side of Built by Gamers, it seems. Went to UT Crew, but now in the hands of Built by Gamers as they start getting taken down. And UT Crew already off the board. I wanted to mention that the big thing for UT Crew when it comes to respawn is it all sits on Dylan and Phantom's shoulders. That's kind of been their consistency going on throughout respawns, is if Dylan's going off, Phantom starts going off, and if those two as a duo just continuously keep pushing through and steamrolling, it can be a very dangerous situation for the other team.
And you had mentioned that we watched, or at least Built by Gamers had played Apocalypse Hardpoint a couple of times. So we are now seeing the first matchup on the Challengers Elite stream of Apocalypse Hardpoint. Of course, this takes over for Crossroads Hardpoint. And one other interesting fact is the meta's kind of different in North America. We see a lot of QBZs, but we're also seeing, I believe, an MP5 in Kismet's hands. He starts off at 3-3. Pentagram has yet to find his first kill of this Hardpoint. But one of the interesting things about Apocalypse in general is it is a very open map when it comes to this, both map mode and combo. You just look at Courtyard and Main Road for the first P1, P2 hills, and it only gets a little bit more tricky from there, but a lot of it comes down to being able to utilize the right corridors and looking for your ARs to be in the proper position to take pressure off the subs. It's a statement we usually say a lot about Hardpoints, but this map plays particularly interesting.
Yeah, and even though Built by Gamers seemed to be a little bit late going on to the rotation, they were finally able to break in and now kind of cause that lead change going to the next hill. But number 5 on your random map, that's going to be Panda. As he's trying to fight his way through the enemy lines, he will get taken down, and they're not going to suffer. They're going to suffer here as they're not going to get this first seconds of hill time. Not to mention they have to cross this map to get this new point.
Well, now we go to Stilts, and you had those close spawns at the back of Courtyard, and Built by Gamers now, again, it's just basically funding through the middle of the map, and you pick up the appropriate kills necessary. Rex, I believe he has the QBZ in hand. He does, going to work through the bottom of the copter, but now you're looking at Dylan Rex to be able to hold on the first wave. Built by Gamers certainly doing their part to lock down the hill early. The spawns are now flipped. UT Crew have to hit from the back, and it's up to Yeez on the entry and Dylan on the follow-up. Second man up will be there. Doesn't find any gunfight, but trays are essentially back and forth for both teams, and now we just look at a bunch of contests in the hill. The gunfights go the way of UT Crew, and a solid break for the last 20 seconds.
Beautiful front break coming out of Built by Gamers, but unfortunately they spawned so deep in the back of the hill that trying to get back and get those last couple of seconds just almost seems impossible. But number 7 Kismet looking to kind of make his way out for his next point as there's only 10 seconds left. And there's still a lot of members in UT Crew going in the backside of this map. It looks like he was kind of on a hunt for Rex, but he doesn't know he's there, so he slips right past him. Dylan ends up getting taken down, and Jintroid and Tanner seem like they're going to gunfight. That's 3 down for UT Crew, and now they have complete control of this side of the map going to this next hard point.
And now we start to rotate again. Ruins up next, P4, here we go, and it's completely popped. Rex is able to find one, I believe, and now you have numbers essentially split in a 2-on-2, trying to move into the hill. Pentagram entirely too weak, pulls out the sidearm. It won't really get anything done, and that's 3 kills, make it all 4, and the break from Built by Gamers is good enough. Now they have mid-map control, they understand where the lanes will be, and UT Crew have to find the necessary kills. The biggest problem at this point is they just can't get anywhere near the hard point. You've soaked up the majority of the time if you're BBG, and you're not really getting contested other than maybe 2 kills at mid-map. Kismet's working through the back. Kismet finds both kills. MP5 in hand, does enough damage to hold on for the last 15 or so seconds. Scrap time, check off that box. Built by Gamers have the lead, and they're growing it ever so slightly.
Built by Gamers pretty even across the board stat-wise as well. I mean, they all have good time in the objective, not to mention 12 and 8 on Kismet, 11 and 9 on Panda. Rex and Penta don't even need to be doing anything as they are on putting pressure on the map, but UT Crew, they are going to get this first couple seconds of time, but Built by Gamers, they can play this slow. They can wait for each other to make this break, but they only have one really good break going on in here, because if not, they're going to spawn across map unless they gain it here, and it's all up to Panda right now to block those spawns. Hopefully try and get his teammates a little closer, but he is almost going to get taken down here, and he has to wait for the cavalry, and this is just more time going on the side of UT Crew.
Pentagram has been such a nice addition to this roster. I mean, they have found nothing but success ever since he first introduced himself. But you're looking at Panda and what Kismet have been able to do so far. 14 and 10, 13 and 10. I mean, just together have been shredding the defense of UT Crew every single time. It looks like there's an opening, or at least early hold. It immediately gets broken, and that is just off the back of the subs and the power they have brought to this first hard point. Now we go back to our second set of rotations in our first hill on main road. Who's going to be set up first? It will be UT Crew. About a 50-point lead for BBG. Nothing too uncharacteristic and nothing too dangerous for UT Crew. They can certainly overcome, but it has to come from Dylan Rex, and it has to come from Jintroid. They need to start stepping up. They need to find those kills. Well, there is one, and while the trades are there for Built by Gamers, well, the setup gets broken early and easily. They walk their way through the middle of the hard point, and they're locking it down, and they should be able to get rotation as well.
I was almost worried about the commitment to that last 20 seconds on the old hard point, but that was quickly washed away as Built by Gamers got that break so quickly and so easily onto UT. But this hill is right in the smack middle of the map. This is such a back and forth. If anything, the whole goal is maybe to try to keep them off the time, but Built by Gamers are taking this last 20 seconds just to set up all the way on the other corner of the map and quickly get a full wipe here and force UT Crew to spawn across the map.
And we've spoken heavily about Built by Gamers in the pre-show, and not only that during this first hard point, but we also want to talk a little bit about what UT Crew's brought to the table. More importantly, some of the weirder roster changes that have happened, because I'm looking at Phantoms, right? He was on this roster, takes them through the North American Gauntlet. Unfortunately, they eventually were up 2-0 against New York Subliners Academy. Back when Glowfrosty was on that roster, they're up 2-0. They get reverse swept. They drop out of the tournament. Phantoms leaves, goes to Wester for maybe 11 hours, and then he leaves with Gravity, finds himself back on this this roster. So, Allie, I mean, at the end of the day, it's null and void. Not much really changed. You have the same four that you had going into the start of Season 1, but did that decisiveness, or I guess I should say indecisiveness from Phantoms, do you think that's going to affect this UT roster, or do you think it was just a short day of miscommunication and we're back to full strength?
It definitely causes a little bit of a hiccup, and like I said, they were already not like super good of a respawn team anyway. It was always heavily put on Phantom's shoulders and on Dylan's shoulders, and so it's kind of the second that either of them kind of step down, you can see it now, they just start struggling to really get away with games. Sure, they're hanging in there, but if they really want to start running with this, they need to start finding that consistency.
And you can see that this was a good map 1 choice. BBG up by around 13 or so, but that lead starts to dwindle just a little, and the comeback begins for UT Crew. But again, they're just not winning the kills in transition. It's all BBG, all purple in the kill feed, and they have locked down the next hill. And we are currently set up for the underside of Stilts. Pentagram up top, shutting down everything, looking for his 3rd kill on this life, 16 and 18. And as he stays alive, the ability just to roam freely and make sure that that hill is locked down, it takes pressure off of everyone else. 203 and counting. We have crossed the 200-point mark, and now it is the end game for Built by Gamers. Now win condition comes to scrap time, but will they be able to lock it out on this hill? No. We will go to another 26 seconds still to fight over. UT Crew have plenty of time to be able to bring this game back, but again, you need more than just a 22 and 20 performance from Phantoms, and you need more than a 5-kill difference from Yeez. It has to come from every single member on this roster, and now you're thinking about that rotation, but guess what? BBG is there first, and they're ready and waiting for the new hill.
Kismet needed to ignore that scrap time and just maybe push back for next rotation, but a little mistake made on UT Crew is they put so much into getting that last couple of seconds that, again, they are unable to rotate for the hill, but they got the kills in the back, so they actually will get the first couple of times here. Yeez finding 2, that is huge for them. As Built by Gamers come up, they only have about 10 seconds of lead to work with here, and this is the last final stretch of the game, and this is not the spot where you want to start giving time to either side.
They look like they might be getting the first break, actually, of this entire game, and there is the lead as well. What a great late rotation they're able to pull off, and now pressure on Built by Gamers. It's Phantoms who shuts down one, and Jintroid combines for the triple kill. He will eventually fall, but they know where GodRx is, and GodRx cannot win that fight. So you have about 20 seconds or so you can still collect. And if you're a UT Crew, you commit your resources to this last bit of time, and then you only need 1 break to win game 1. It was a pick by BBG, but it's a resurgence from UT Crew that are putting him in the driver's seat. And if no contest comes in, they're going to win it on this hill. 6 seconds to go. It might be a perfect hardpoint hold. Everyone dropping on the outside, and that will be map 1. What a hold on the final. It doesn't even matter. Go to the new hill. Who cares? 250 to 210, and a perfect late game break and hold by UT Crew.
I mean, it was that 1 break and hold. It was that 1 full 60 that really just put them right back into the game. I mean, for the fact that Built by Gamers, I mean, it was all going so much their way, and just a couple hiccups here and there really just cost them those last final kills.
And it looked like, you know, on the early rotation, you're looking at Built by Gamers and you're saying, okay, you've done what you've essentially done the entire game. You win rotation, you get 3-4 kills, you get maybe 1 team wipe, and that's game, Alley. And then they get broken, and then every time they just try to subsequently funnel off of spawn, getting picked up by Phantoms, getting picked up by Yeez. It just consistently was getting shut down, and BBG had no answer. They had no answer. They consistently were trying to put numbers onto the old hill, contest, because they knew they were going to lose it there. And even when we went to new, it just didn't matter. All of the time went, and that is one of the rare perfect hardpoint holds you would see, let alone an Apocalypse, more importantly in hardpoint in general. Let's look at the replays, and Allie, break down not only that last hill for us, but in general, just, you know, you have a hardpoint eye, you understand what these players are thinking. How did UT Crew come back in this game?
Well, so one big mistake I want to point out about BBG is on that very last hill, they were all surrounding the hardpoint. Kismet had the perfect spawn in the bottom, well, excuse me, top right of the map. Personally would be the bottom, but he spawns up right there. That puts a member of BBG all around the top half of the map. UT Crew is still all 4 onto this old hardpoint in the last like couple of seconds. None of them had rotated yet, so I almost wish BBG had kind of solidified and gotten closer together to kind of hold that hardpoint, but they were so spread out that once one fell and another one fell, it was all of UT Crew just pushing from one direction, and they just couldn't have an answer for it. And then suddenly you're spawning on the other side of the map, you're stagger pushing in, you're getting picked off one by one, and UT Crew ends up getting a full 60.
You know, sometimes, Ali, in especially the late game of this Hardpoint, it felt like we were watching a bit of the end of a control, right? Like, you're picking numbers apart, you're moving out the defensive rotation of Built by Gamers, and like you said, staggered pushes, which can only work if you have like the best subs or ARs in the game. And no offense to BBG, but that's just not the case. So they weren't able to really rally a strong team push together, and you're running out of time to say, let's wait up and wait for a full push in together. They drop game one, and more importantly, they drop one of their picks, which means we look at the map pool. That was their first Hardpoint pick, and now it just comes down to all of checkmates. It's the next three up on the slate, and a decisive, if necessary, game 5 on Miami. Well, Miami is pretty neutral for most teams, but man, if you ever had to go into a stage of a series or into a following couple of maps, checkmate might not be on number one on many people's lists, Ali. This can be a very brutal and punishing map if you can't bounce back after a tough loss.
No, absolutely. And going into checkmate, and I know I talked about it a little bit before as well, the fact that UT Crew is able to take that hard point off of BBG was massive, because UT Crew has not been very successful in S&D thus far. And looking on the side Built by Gamers, that's kind of their win condition, is to hopefully shut them down here in this S&D in a convincing fashion to maybe kind of create that momentum going into the rest of the series. But UT Crew, again, same thing. They could take that momentum from that hard point win, which didn't look like it was going to go their way. And then they started to heat up near the end, which happens to be kind of a repeating thing for them, is they happen to, you know, start off their respawns pretty slow and then kind of pick it up near the end. And, you know, and Dylan, again, I talk about Dylan, he had a slow start, and Phantoms had a slow start. I mean, once they all kind of started firing on all cylinders, they just kind of, they rolled their way through, and that's when the rest of the team kind of rallied together, and it felt like, you know, we were actually watching UT Crew playing the way we know them to.
And if we look back at how UT Crew were able to play in Season 1, and more importantly, the stats that they had throughout their run, it was certainly impressive. But you look at the lineup of maps we have coming up on Checkmate, and if I remember correctly, which is almost never the case, they might have some PTSD going into Checkmate, because they did eventually, I believe, drop that Game 5 S&D to New York Subliners Academy on this map. But maybe they've been able to bounce back. I mean, with Phantoms dropping a collective 1.3 across almost every single mode, look at his control KD, look at his hardpoint proficiency, and everyone else getting close to that 1.0 perfect mark. Rex at a 1.13 across almost every single mode. I mean, this kid is just ridiculous, and this team should be playing, and usually is playing, above their caliber. And it just comes down to, a lot of the times, putting the brass tacks on the field. Sometimes they just come up short and they make just really weird mistakes, but you can just tell on every single mode, Ali, they are more than capable of outslaying their way through problems. It just comes down a lot of the times to committing as a unit and making the right play call. And that's where the IGLs need to step up. And I feel like for this team, a lot of it comes to Phantoms, because he does have a little bit more veteran experience, at least being at the pro scene, compared to some of the other members on this roster.
True, absolutely. And when we talk about this S&D and it being checkmate, I feel like this is a map that Phantoms could really thrive on, especially. And then, you know, I feel like the win condition, at least when it comes to UT Crew, and I know I touched on it earlier, is they need to get first blood. I feel like first blood is kind of a win condition for UT Crew, because I've watched it time and time again that they've gone down lives and they kind of struggled to bring it back. So I'm wondering, going into this, if they had maybe fixed that from our Season 1 and see if they've gotten better around that area. And again, Phantoms, Dylan, I'm looking at them going into it.
You know, I am excited to see how Built by Gamers are able to kind of respond and bounce back, because like you said, the win condition at this moment seems to be for this team the S&Ds. And while they essentially did just that to win their first ever Challengers Cup in the Cup number 7, they were able to win the Game 5 S&D. And here are some stats from BBG from last season, and they've made some changes, right? But I feel like they have been getting better and better and better in respawn, and you can see that their respawn KD was not super impressive. I mean, Gara Rex kind of tops the charts for everyone in Season 1, but they have been getting more efficient at hard points, at controls, and they've been spending less time kind of thinking through the progressions on the map. And you can tell that the communication is there, and the decisiveness, like the second and third decision making for this team when things start to break down, is certainly improving. So I wonder how they're going to bounce back, or even if they're just going to play this relatively routine going into Game 2 S&D on Checkmate. Either way, all I know is that for UT Crew, it has to be a full team effort, but for BBG, this is a big matchup, because winner of this almost guarantees themselves to move into like the top 4. But not only that, a lot of it comes down to, can you prove to us that your success as of late is not a fluke, and you're going up against one of the better rosters on your level, and now it comes down to at least staying alive in the series.
And already hopping into it, like I said, UT Crew need to focus on getting that first blood, and they have managed to do it. Excuse me, they've gotten the first 3 bloods as nobody from the side of UT Crew has fallen, and there goes the first round. UT Crew up 1-0 over Built by Gamers right off the bat, Spaceman. I mean, what a quick round.
I mean, you said get first blood. They said we'll get 4 first bloods. How's that? No one else drops, and UT Crew lose no numbers. Yeez was on the opposite side of the plane, and I think he distracted Kismet long enough for Phantoms to pick up the final kill you see in your kill feed. But still, a very quick round 1. So sometimes we hop into S&Ds and things collapse massively. Otherwise, I mean, we're only 1 round in, but Phantoms has 2 kills. He's on a 2 spree, and everyone else on BBG is still hunting for their first. Donuts across the board, only 1 round, not a big deal. Bomb carrier will be Pander, and it looks like it's going to be a 4-man hit to the right side of the plane under the wing. They're going to meet a couple of members of UT Crew under here shortly, and Hughes gets cut down, not before he takes one with him. 3v3, both dead evil on the other side.
Some gunfights need to be won there, as it was under the plane, and all 4 members of BBG weren't able to get all those trades going out in their favor, and now they're stuck in a 1v3 bomb all by itself. That's going to be Pander under the plane. I've seen crazier things happen, Pander, but you are all on your own in this one. 1v3,
Run.
that is 3 members of UT Crew staring down at you. None of them yet to fall, except for Yeez. I mean, what do you do in this situation, Spaceman? What advice can you give to Pander right now?
I mean, perfect scenario, you try to isolate the gunfight, but in this scenario, you play with the information you have. If not, you know, in situations where the map allows it, you back off the map and just kind of take yourself out of the play. Now you're just trying to find maybe Jintroid or Dylan, and you're playing for that idea of a round 11, right? How many kills can I pick up and potentially put us on defense? 24 seconds to go. It's entirely still doable, but Phantoms will see him, and it doesn't look like Pander really cares. Not a lot in the clip. Decides to reach Al, and not necessarily the greatest position, but still, I like the guts and the moxie. Up 2-0, UT Crew, and how quickly numbers have fallen for BBG early in these rounds, Ali, where you're then left in like a 1v3, 1v4 situation, fighting against an entirely set up UT Crew. I mean, what do you do?
I just feel like that was a really aggressive play that I'm not expecting to see out of BBG. I'm expecting them to kind of slow it down and play a much more calculatory S&D. So to see them just kind of go straight for that 4 push onto their plane, I guess, like, especially against somebody like Dylan, against somebody like Phantoms. I mean, these are some fast players. Jintroid, they're going to be pushed up into plane. So I'm just expecting a little bit more methodicalness out of them.
If only there was a way we could smoke the cross, and that would make the bomb's job a little bit easier, but that currently doesn't exist. And First Blood again, it's traded back. UT Crew, 3 members alive. It will be Jintroid, Dylan, and Phantoms. Got a Rex on the outside of that box near NASA. So now you're thinking about, do we rotate back and try to go through shipping and play for the A side, or do we just try to clear out with kills? It looks like it's going to be the latter. And at this moment, you have numbers. Bomb has yet to advance onto B. Not sure why. Kismet in the back takes down Dylan, and a bit of a collapse now for UT Crew. It looks like they're just going to hunt for the kills instead.
Huge win out of Kismet to get that kill, and he knows Jintroid's there as well. He calls it out to his teammates, and they just know where the bomb is in the middle of the map, so he's going to have to back up and try and play his life. And we saw a strat kind of like that earlier yesterday, and he ends up getting taken down and Built by Gamers finally get on the board. But we saw a strat kind of like that yesterday. I believe it was Wester, where we were on S&D in this map. You know, you just play that far back defense, and this is what I expected more out of Built by Gamers, to just kind of wait for them to make a mistake. Wait for them to peek and come to you, and that's exactly what we saw. Instead of them pushing up into plane and forcing those close quarter gunfights, which I don't think anybody's going to win against Dylan or Jintroid, and just kind of wait for those picks. So absolutely great strat by Built by Gamers.
It seems like an easy counter strat, but Ali, is it just hindsight 2020? In that situation, maybe you plant bomb and force BBG to move up to your position. Otherwise, I mean, you're just giving them what they want, which is a slow offensive round. But now you're looking for First Blood again. You guys know the name of the game. Jintroid inside the plane. Full spread for BBG. And that bomb hesitant to move up until you find First Blood. Hopefully it comes through Pentagram, which should open up at least the bottom of the plane, and then you have options. But at this moment, again, Cross still looked over. I believe that's Dylan and Yeez working together in tandem, so they should be able to get a couple of lines of sight locked down.
Kismet and Godorak should be calling out that there's nobody on the A site, so I'm surprised I haven't seen the bomb make a full rotation that way yet, but slow game going on. They still have 40 seconds to work with. Nothing scary yet. Bomb finally getting rotated to the back of the spawn, looking like it's making its way towards the A site. All members of UT Crew surrounded by the plane. Nobody's on the site. This is a free plan. You need to get it down. You need to get it down now, Pander. You have 30 seconds. Don't give them time to think, and don't give them time to rotate. Yeez just slid by. Penta got the information. He might catch Dylan off the rotation. He does. This is huge for BBG. Bomb should be going down. That's it. Traded out. 3v3. 19 seconds left on the clock.
very hesitant to put that bomb down, and Yee's in a very, very good situation and position. Phantom's gonna get close, doesn't finish the kill, and Gonorex might get punished for it. He's just gonna back up playtime. All he has to do is repeat, but Gintroid is there for the flank. And what a phenomenal push and collapse onto the site. And a mistake by BBG. They just took way too long to commit to A. They took way too long to get the bomb down. And then they say, you know what? We're going to try to rotate. It doesn't work. And they end up falling short because of it.
No, absolutely. They took way too long to lay that bomb down. Panda should have, the second he got there, it should have been a quick lay as one of his teammates walked over him. But UT crew, I mean, great collapse out of them. I mean, even though one of them went down, you know, that play to get the bomb down, Gintroid making that flank out through mid to get him off the side as well to make sure bomb can't get planted. I mean, just great stuff out of UT crew as well.
That small indecisiveness that might come back to bite him. It's up 3-1. UT crew 2-round advantage. First blood seems to be favoring BBG, but then they get punished for it. A little bit too quick to say, let's not push up yet. Dylan inside the plane, stuns are out. He does get slightly tagged, so the information certainly is there, and no trophies are going to get popped yet. Looking for that first entry sub that would clear the site, but no one will be there.
Phantom's trying to find something on the A side. Little does you know, there's not a single player from the side of BBG over there, so I'm assuming that's going to be called out as well. Kismet, though, trying to watch over it.
They should just plan, Allie. I mean, you know how BBG played on the defensive round just a round ago. You should know they're going to hold back, so it could be a free site. Pentagram right on the other side. He doesn't know the bomb's going down, but that nade will certainly tell him. Here comes the check, and there should be the kill. It will be. Yep. And now you could just hop it. But instead, he's going to try to play through the cabin.
I sucked in my breath for a second because I thought we had switched to Gintroid's point of view, and I thought he had popped up and just melted Pentagram right up to the defuse. I was about to be mind blown, but great collapse out of Built by Gamers. UT crew definitely playing that a little too slow because, I mean, the second that he got in there to put bomb down, one of his teammates had already gone down. He was by himself in plane, and once that information was there, I mean, it was just a little bit too slow of a round.
Yeah, and Built by Gamers are essentially showing UT crew their hand each time. They're saying, we're going to throw you a fastball, and if you can read it, you know where we are. If you can't, swing away. And they have elected to take a little bit longer to put that bomb down. Numbers collapse. But I would have loved to have seen in that round, possibly, maybe 3 members stack inside the cabin, go for a complete, hold in the plane, and force the defense to move up and play you 1-to-1. But at this moment, Kismet with 4 kills on a 4 spree of his own. Pander at 1 and 4 across the board. Phantoms and Dylan both have 4 kills combined, or individually, I should say.
Math. We love it.
I never want to do math again. It really hurts physically.
Almost like a reflection of their defense right now. Bomb is sitting deep in the back of plane, just kind of waiting for which side they want to commit to on the side of BBG. Pentagram looking for some information on bottom plane here. It seems he's going to catch out Yeez, I believe, as he gets that corner. He does take him down, so that's first blood for BBG. That's huge. This bomb needs to go down. We've seen this happen before, Pander. Or excuse me, who has the bomb? Yes, he has it again. Put it down. Do not lollygag on that side, as we've seen. You've gotten punished for it before. Pentagram able to take down Phantoms in the back. This is now a 1v4. That is what we need to see out of BBG in the last round. And finally making a bit of a comeback, as Kismet should be able to take down Dylan. So great round by then, be able to take that back. And we are now tied 3-3 in this checkmate S&D.
And you can tell that Built by Gamers are feeling a little bit more confident when Pentagram is the one running point. He gets the first initial, and then everything else kind of funnels through him. Once he's able to escape, that bomb gets moved up, and he just roams around, able to find Dylan in that final kill cam. But a lot of it just comes down to the first break and that first kill. And when first blood is popped, how do you respond? UT crew have not been doing a great job on defense. And on the other side, Built by Gamers have been showing UT crew what they're going to do. And UT crew have not capitalized on the free space at mid-map.
The thing about UT crew is they started out so aggressive in the earlier rounds and really started succeeding with that. And they've really let BBG kind of pull that pace back. And now we're watching Bomb and Gintroid just kind of out on its own on this plane wing over here. They're trying to get some information, but nobody's inside a plane. UT crew has not caught on to the fact yet that BBG has yet to ever push somebody into plane on these defensive rounds. And I feel like that's really punishing them because they have to slow down. They have to wait. They have to see if there's going to be any trades going through. But Bomb finally going down. Number 8 is going to be Pentagram. He's the closest one on BBG. He doesn't have the information just yet. He's not able to punish UT crew for it. So now they're in an awful situation to protect this B site.
And just play time now. This is the fastest I think we've seen the bomb go down so far in this game. 2 in the back. It is Pentagram and GodRx working together, and 2 on the pinch on the outside. But the defuse, Pentagram's just gonna stick it. I love the ninja play. The absolute balls from Pentagram, and he sticks it. It doesn't matter. No one was watching the bomb, and that is some of the problem that Checkmate S&D can present. If you don't have a line of sight on that bomb once it goes down, it's almost impossible to check the defuse without going into the site.
What a play that usually only works once and then quickly turns into a double-edged sword, because now UT Crew are going to have to think about that quick defuse every time they lay that bomb down. Should we make it that far? Built by Gamers now up 4-3 in this S&D. Pentagram is 6-4. We finally got some life out of the rest of the teammates as well, as Panda is sitting at 2-5, GodRx 3-3, Kismet 5-3. And I mean, what a just great play out of them to put UT Crew off this game.
Built by Gamers are just playing this S&D a little bit smarter. And UT Crew, again, they're not doing much, but that's kind of the problem, right? Jintroid inside the site. Stun will not connect, but they surely or certainly should know the numbers are here. Phantoms underneath the wing has cross covered, but Kismet is advancing very quickly. Here comes Nate, gonna flush out Phantoms. Phantoms says, never mind, I'll just stick to this position, but he is spotted and there's nowhere he can run.
Can't go
Kismet
anywhere.
just gonna play with his life a little bit. And the wallbang works. You can do that one. Yeast throws out of the native zone. He'll take out Kismet. The trade is there. Yeast has to back up. The numbers will not favor his advantage. And he escapes into the plane, but Jintroid is able to take down Pentagram. Trades are there. And now you're looking at a 2v2.
Wish Dylan played a little patient with his trigger finger there, as they may have not known he was on that side of the plane, but bomb should be going down 25 seconds, but they haven't laid it yet. They're crossing over to A. Dylan might get sight of this should he peek the left side, but he doesn't. He goes to the B site, so bomb will be laid, and Dylan will get a rude awakening of the A bomb being planted as he makes his way over. He might be able to catch Pander, but the slide out makes it win, but the turn and burn onto GodRx. But I mean, Pander should be in the optimal situation to win this, as he just has to wait time now. Dylan looking for the kill. He will get it. Pander had my heart beating for just a second there, but Built by Gamers now up 5-3.
And again, they're just playing this a little bit smarter. The collapse into the plane works. You play those trades. Wait for me, I got you. And Use comes out for the ego chow. And he does not succeed. 5-3 now. And what was a 2-0 lead for UT Crew? They've found one round since. Everything else, it's all been BBG. They have done such a great job in this S&D to bring it back. And again, just outsmart their opponents. And they're giving UT Crew some leeway, but UT Crew are not taking advantage of that. Now, Phantoms without the stun. Kismet on the outside of shipping. We're going to rotate to the plane now. Jintroid underneath. Spots Kismet on the cross. Pentagram is there, and Kismet finds first blood, and a massive one at that.
Gotta hit those shots right there, Jintroid, as he just gets ripped off of what I thought was going to be a free gunfight. And like I said, once UT Crew goes down lives, it's usually all she wrote, since they do struggle to come back. So interesting to see Bomb now making its way under the wing. No commitment just yet. Penta end up finding Phantoms on the stairs, though. It's not a 1v4. Penta finds another. There's only so much Yeast can do in this situation.
Well, you have nowhere to go, and everyone's hunting for you, and that will be the game. Built by Gamers take the S&D 6-3, and after the first 2 rounds, it was not close. It could have been a 6-0 if they kept playing like that. Each crew had some room to move, but they just really didn't take that extra mile that they were given, and that's just credit to BBG, how quickly they played the S&D, how efficiently they played that S&D, and like you said, Ali, the win condition for them does come down to that one life mode, and they do so successfully.
Yeah, and BBG, the thing about it was right when they did that forward push on her plane, I was like, oh god, this is not going to be a good S&D if we keep doing stuff like that. But they realized the mistake. They realized that's not how they should be playing against this team, and they pulled it back, and they completely flipped the switch. They started to play their own pace. They slowed it down. They played for their first bloods. They started capitalizing on when they were up in lives, and that's all they needed to do to get this S&D off UT Crew. So now that they're tied 1-1 in the series, UT Crew, their S&D didn't look terrible. It was just the second they start getting shut down, they find it so hard to find back into their rhythm. They find it so hard to start coming back, and I think that could be a huge downfall for them.
Yeah, and here are the replays of that S&D, and it really just was the story of the First Bloods, and not only that, but Man, the ability to trade so effectively. Pentagram was pushed up so far for so many rounds, and how many times do you find a big kill at the back of the plane, which basically isolates UT Crew inside the cabin. There's nowhere they can effectively go without getting spotted, and Kismet was just picking people apart. It was a collective effort from everyone around, and Pentagram had a great game. Kismet as well. I mean, this was the gunfight here. It was just comical. Phantoms has nowhere to go, and just plays like that make the defense so much more unpredictable, and the ability to move through mid-map effectively. You know, after the first 2 rounds, Allie, we were saying, you know, oh, that bomb needs to go down faster. There are so many chances for both teams to get a quick plant, and they're just not capitalizing on it, even though they had the info. And then things just started to snowball out. And even with BBG continuing to sit back on defense, they said, while we do that, Pentagram, you go have fun. You go play around. And he was effective as ever. He was picking up first bloods left and right. But BBG, just a very strong S&D squad. So if this series does go the distance, I'm a little worried for UT Crew, I'm not gonna lie.
Well, going off the S&D, something kind of an interesting thing that I picked up on BBG that I'm shocked that I haven't seen other teams do as we look at the maps. Again, let me finish this point real quick, is that they gave Pander the bomb every single time they were on offense, which allowed the S&D players like Pentagram, like Kismet, to just kind of run in front of them and get all the kills. Sure, Pander didn't have a great stat line, but he was doing what he needed to do. He wasn't the slayer in S&D,
Sure.
and that's okay. He had the objective, he had the bomb, he was laying it and playing his life for his team, and allowing them, you know, allowing Pentagram, allowing Kismet to just push up behind enemy lines. So that was huge. So going to this checkmate, I'm expecting to kind of continue that success riding off the backs of Kismet, of Pentagram, and those slayings that they were doing in the S&D.
You know, sometimes you just have to play your role. You're not required to carry in the stat count. You're not required to overexert yourself. You're not required to play anything above what you normally do. And if you keep giving Pander the bomb and telling him just to simply play bomb and get us a chance to win the round just through you, that's all that necessary. Again, understanding your roles as a team is how you succeed in events like this, in series and seasons like this. And, you know, there's a great bar that just goes like, you know, people who don't know how to be on the team just mess up the positions or something like that. I don't know. It's weird, but it makes sense, because if you don't play your position, you mess up the flow of the team, and the ebb and flow is so crucial in Call of Duty. But now we get ready for checkmate control, and now we get ready for game 3, which again, we're going to be on checkmate for a while, folks. So strap in, get yourself some drinks, and enjoy the Call of Duty action, because we are, and BBG have been able to tie this one up. Let's get into game 3, and let's get into S&D with how effectively they were able to close it out, and it was not a scrappy fight that many of us expected.
Absolutely, and it's not like the Hardpoint was that much of a closeout either on the side of BBG. So riding off of that 6-3 win on that S&D, going into the same map once again, and kind of the, you know, child of what Hardpoint and S&D is, I'm definitely expecting to see a lot more success on the side of BBG.
Yeah, the love child of Hardpoint and S&D is a very stressful, intense, and sometimes confusing game mode, but that is the only thing we would really ask for. Off the start, Phantom's able to find 2 kills, and Pentagram found his first. So far, that's about it. GodRx hasn't really done much, but Built by Gamers at this moment are all tied up. Finally, you have the life advantage for UT Crew, but we go into this checkmate, and we go into this control, where again, A is highly contested, but I feel like, Allie, as this season has kicked off, and as the Cold War meta has adapted, it seems like teams are getting better on offense at capturing A, and B has become the one that's harder to cap.
No, I completely agree, especially because I just watched Kismet himself do it. He pushed into plane while all of UT Crew was kind of hard focusing onto this A site, and just came up behind them and shot them all in the backs, which allowed the rest of his teammates to finish the cap onto A. So that's A gone. B still has no ticks in progression on it yet, but they have 1:50 to work with. Kismet's already making a mess of the plane and kind of getting this mid control, and his teammates are ending up falling, but should he just play his life and wait for them to come back up, we could see a quick cap onto B as well.
And Kismet has put away the Apocalypse-specific MP5 and elects for the AK-74U, so a change-up now for BBG, but QBZ still in hand. No Kriegs yet, I don't believe, for at least BBG, but we'll keep an eye on that for now. Life advantage back to Built by Gamers, and they are currently under the wing, currently working on that second tick on to B. Can they get the first? So that's the big question. At this moment, Jintroid's able to shut down at least the first push, but then he gets responded quickly by 2 kills, and Built by Gamers are underneath the plane and on the point. So you're looking at a situation where you just have to get back control of mid-map, and that comes through, well, you guys know the deal, the kills, but so far spread out is UT Crew. How do they collapse in? And are able to find Yeez, and Jintroid takes down Godarex before everyone else gets traded out, and that half tick still not really working on B.
A lot of back and forth going under this plane here. That might come down to lives in this control if it keeps going the way that it's going. Pentagram might get caught out on his own, though, but he takes down one. Good night to Dylan. We'll see you next on the next respawn, but fortunately, he's not able to capitalize on that as the rest of his team is still coming off a spawn. 50 seconds to work with one tick on B. Kismet is in plane. He's behind Jintroid, but unfortunately, the cavalry was also coming in there. So now you have the information. Your PBG, you know that they're all in plane. What do you do with that? Well, you fall under plane. Pander down. Now is 12v10. UT Crew down in lives. Pentagram finds 2. Phantoms falls on the point. And after all of that, there is still 3 members of BBG about to get on this point. They have 28.8 seconds. And maybe have one more good push should they go down here.
Pentagram adds so much to this roster, just the ability to have clutch 2 pieces from your main sub, and they get themselves into the point, and more importantly, they get themselves the first round win of this control. And that came off of the back of Pentagram's 2-piece. Godarex was able to find the 3rd kill in that transition. They move onto the plane, and then Panda is able to sit in the back with the QBZ and lock down everything that might be coming through shipping. But it really just came down to translating those kills into a positive bull rush under the plane. They're able to pull it off, and for now, BBG do have the lead in game 3.
And I know you were talking about how teams are getting better in offensive, and now I'm so interested getting into this defensive to see, you know, if BBG is getting that super strong hold that we usually see when teams flip to the defensive side, and kind of already having the offensive under your belt is a little bit of like an easy breather. But again, should UT Crew kind of capitalize on the fact that teams are getting on better in offensive, as we're watching them right now, as Yeez is going to try and make a split push into A, is maybe it's going to be whoever can take the first defensive.
I believe it was first blood for BBG last round, and now we kind of flip that as Dylan's able to find 2 off the break. Pander, shots ring out, and he will escape, takes down 1 in the process, and then he gets cut down and tucked away. Kismet now working through the plane. Numbers are here for UT Crew. They get the trade necessary. 57 seconds and counting, and everything starts to dwindle away, and the map pressure and the control, the poise at mid-map from UT Crew. 2 at B, 2 at A. Built by Gamers just have to get back on defense and try something, but a lot of it just comes down to capping the point. UT Crew finally get on to A. But how long will it last? Well, with kills like that, it will certainly last a while. Working through the back, it should be Godarex, and he comes in for the contest.
Jintroid trying to get behind enemy lines. He's unable to take the free kill down to Godarex, though, so he ends up falling. And now all of BBG can push up into the spawn of UT. This is looking very dangerous for them. And what looked like was a good setup as Jintroid and Dylan kind of made their presence known in the mid-map and taking over that plane. I mean, Built by Gamers answers right back. And UT Crew has 26 seconds. They have to push by this line of purple that is pushed up into their spawn. They finally have taken down 1, but they need to push it to A. That's going to be 7 and 6. That's going to be Dylan and Yeez trying to make their way onto the point, but they have 16 seconds. So we now have 1 member of UT onto the A side. They both get taken down. BBG finally falls. Jintroid finds 2, and we might finally see a couple ticks going through. But Pander's coming from behind. He catches 1. He catches 2. Can he get the 3rd off of A? He's not even going to worry about it. He's going to trust his teammate Godarex to get him off the point and push up their spawn once again. Love that play call out of them.
That's the biggest kill of the entire game by Phantoms about 20 seconds ago. He broke out that stronghold choke in the spawn, and he was able to move the rest of his team up to A, but everyone else didn't do their job. Phantoms certainly did, but you can only rely on yourself so much, and Built by Gamers hold on defense to take the 2nd round in this game, and Phantoms picks up that kill. It moves the reinforcements onto A, but everyone else just gets cut down, and again, the defense is certainly there for BBG, but if you're Phantoms, you just got palm on your head, scratching the back of your noggin saying, what in the hell do I have to do more to be able to get us in a position to try to win a round? You just got to help that man out, because everything else has been crumbling, and Built by Gamers are in a prime position to take this game 3.
I feel like UT Crew is just focusing a little bit too much on top plane control because they are in a perfect position. They had 2 members inside of the A point getting that tick, and they had 2 members inside of plane just kind of getting that top control. So should they have dropped under it and maybe try to get some progression on B, maybe try to split the forces of BBG and kind of force that kind of staggered push, maybe it would have gone a little differently for them.
Numbers quickly fall. UT Crew on defense saying absolutely not to the push on to B. GodderX has to think twice about that engagement, and he will do so. Now waiting for reinforcements. It's a clustered spawn at the top right of the minimap, and now numbers spread out, so you have a chance here to pick apart isolated gunfights, but Dylan at the top of the plane is able to cut one, or at least get the assist down before he eventually drops. And now everyone's getting tucked away as two more will fall. Built by Gamers lighting up the kill feed all purple. Phantoms evens things out, and he might have saved his team's life in this round, but numbers are still at A, and the progression continues. We continue to kick our feet up in wonder where this defense from UT Crew will come up big next. Will it be on this A zone, or will Built by Gamers come through with the second contest and they get the points? A team kill doesn't really matter when everyone else is doing their job. Everyone drops, and oh my god, it's looking bad. That is the second progression onto A, and now this is the advancement to B.
It's not even that UT Crew did anything wrong there. Phantoms was at the back of the plane and started distracting the members of BBGG, and you watched, all of them turn around to kind of fight for him, and that allowed UT Crew to collapse onto the A side and get their kills. But Pentagram turns around and kills all three of them. So at that point, there's just nothing UT Crew can do except try to shut down Pentagram. He's 14 and 12, and he got 4 kills just in that engagement alone. So that's A at 2 ticks. UT Crew able to answer back with a couple kills of their own. They've stopped the push for now. 30 seconds, so all Built by Gamers need is one good push into this A side to get this final tick.
Well, if there is a silver lining, it is that you only have 23 seconds left. Life count in favor of UT Crew, so while Pentagram was on a spree, they haven't got any progress to A, and this contest is here. Pentagram again with a massive kill and a massive 1v1 win. He might have done enough, and he will. They're going to add another minute onto the clock. Kismet at the top of the plane at least just gets the information enough to back off. So they're so far pushed back on defense. You can put numbers in on B and get that first tick. They do so. That's a great call out in those comms by Built by Gamers. More importantly, Kismet, who is flanked behind, and Pander's able to take down Rex, but still the damage might be done. No one else is there for UT Crew, and map 3 will go to Built by Gamers. They lead this series 2-1.
Pentagram was just push up and spawn, just killing every single one of them the second that they got off, and it just allowed them to get nowhere near that B site. What a dominant showing of control by Built by Gamers. Pentagram, he is exactly what this roster needed. They needed that aggression, they needed that entry, they needed that superstar, and that is exactly what he's been doing for this team.
Pentagram really just in that last round put the team on his back, as similarly to what you look at what Phantoms was doing in a round before. He was trying to do the same role, but it just didn't really work out. And now we sit in a situation where looking at that control, this might be the turning point. We talk about the snowball falling down the hill. It might have been in the S&D, and I think it just crashed into a boulder and kept going in that control, because now everyone looks like they're firing back. Kismet looks comfortable. He's roaming. You got Pentagram putting up 2-3 pieces consistently. GodderX isn't missing a bullet, and Pander is just kind of playing objective. He's just doing the support role, getting his hands dirty, and here are the replays from Game 3, and I assume, again, it is all a Built by Gamers, and it should be, because this was kind of the big final call. Kismet staying alive in the plane and recognizing that the defense is so far pushed back for UT Crew, you can push numbers up onto the point and force them to advance. If they do, they're either going to get spotted by GodderX on the opposite side of the wing or Kismet in the top of the plane. There is no way they move up uncontested, and man, what a great call out that was, because it essentially seals the game and the round.
And coming to that control, it's not even, again, like I said, when they made that play call, UT Crew, it wasn't that they were exactly doing anything wrong, as they just could not shut down Pentagram. Phantoms, he was doing all that he could on the map, but he needed help. He needed more of Dylan. He needed more of Jintroid. We're looking at the stat now. He's 8 and 14 in the third round of control. You just can't have one of your main slayers being that negative, especially going against a team like BBG. So, I just look at this team now, and I feel like we're watching a completely different lineup than that first Hardpoint.
Allie, it feels like we're watching that team that placed third at the first Challengers Open event and the team that won the 7th Challengers Cup. They just look like they are hitting that form that, again, the game one was a bit of an understatement and a fluke from them, because they were leading, they look very standard, and then they drop it, they make a couple of questionable decisions as a final hit on the last hill, and we're like, oh wow, UT Crew just stepped up big. But ever since then, Built by Gamers have been reminding us why they were so successful in the Challengers Cup, why they requalified so easily, and why they placed third at the first open event just a couple of weeks ago, if that. But now we go into Checkmate on Hardpoint, or I should say we go into Hardpoint on Checkmate, and same map. You guys know the deal. We've been here 3 times now. It was a 6-3 win on Checkmate S&D. It was a 3-0 win in that control. it wasn't really close. And aside from that first hard point, this has been all of BBG. And going into this checkmate, I mean, look, recency bias is certainly a thing. They look good on this map. And you know what? For 3 maps in a row, for them to win it, it wouldn't be such a bad thing.
I completely agree with you. I was going to make the point that they look so good on checkmate, whether it's just them heating up or if this really happens to be one of the best maps in their map pool. You know, you'd think that they wouldn't have allowed them to pick it as many times as we've seen, but going into this, I have to favor BBG. I agree with you. I have to, look at Pentagram and seeing how good he's doing, looking at Kismet, looking at Godorex finally heating up, and UT Crew, I mean, their win conditions for them is, shutting these players down. They have to stop them. They're on a roll right now. Their momentum is all in their favor, and they have to stop them and stop them early, because if there's anything I know about Built by Gamers is once they start going, you can't stop them. And UT Crew is such a slow start team when it comes to respawn. They just can't do that if they want to stay alive in this series.
Yeah, the win condition has to be a team effort from UT Crew. You need everyone to be able to contribute. If you want to be able to send this to a game 5, Miami is pretty unpredictable sometimes. So if you want that at least neutral game 5, you need everyone else to step up. Phantoms was doing his most, but I need more from Gentroid. I need more from Yeez. And at the end of the day, you need more from Rex, right? You have to have everyone on the same page. On the other side, playing to their strengths here. Pentagram, his ability to roam and pick up clutch 2 pieces, his ability to kind of break down a hill individually and create such a problem for defenses that rotate in. That is where this team strikes hot and where they strike often. And with Kismet and Godorex looking as comfortable as ever, that is what we expected this Built by Gamers roster to look like last season. Finally, it looks like they are doing their job. And now we move into Checkmate Hardpoint and we wait for one more. But Ali, this entire series has been pretty interesting because the first pick was Apocalypse Hardpoint, and that was by BBG. They eventually drop it, and I don't know how much they had in terms of having these next 3 maps be all Checkmate, but I'm looking at Checkmate in general and saying these should be a map and or series of maps that they could be picking pretty often for any mode.
No, true, absolutely. And I know we've talked a lot about Built by Gamers, and we have so much to say about them. They are veterans, and they are all, former pros especially, and the addition of Pentagram to be that aggression that they needed to run in front of them and letting the rest of the players kind of sit back and do what they know what to do. On the side of UT Crews, I'm starting to think maybe it's just not a good mesh. I talk about Dylan, I talk about Phantoms, but Yeez and Gentroid, just sometimes it doesn't feel like they're on the map. Sure, I mean, they're doing the fundamentals of playing together kind of okay, but I just have yet to see anything explosive come out of this roster just yet, except for maybe a couple, 1 or 2 pieces out of the main 2, Phantoms and Dylan, versus the side of Yeez and Gentroid.
And this could be a situation where, again, all speculation, and it's only week 1, surely, but looking at this similar UT Crew that we saw in Season 1 that did drop to Subliners Academy, they got reverse swept out of, I believe, the winners finals. And, it could be a situation where maybe they need a little bit more firepower in that sub spot. Maybe you're looking at someone like Pentagram, like Draza, or maybe you look at needing an IGL, a veteran leadership, or a veteran voice in those comms. Is that someone like Gravity? Maybe they missed out on a chance like that, but certainly questions to be had and answers we are still looking for. But at this moment, it is still too early to say there needs to be a roster change because we're only 2 seasons in and we're only 1 week into Season 2. But if this continues, Ali, and we get to a point where end of Season 2, UT Crew again come up a little bit short for their standards, we go into Season 3 and they have the same roster, that is when I feel like the validity of the conversation of should there be a roster change really starts to hold weight. And then we start having a serious discussion about who do you possibly take out, what is the direction this team needs to go in, and is there a reasonable and reliable roster change they can make, or our team's going to be so locked down for the long haul in the stretch of the middle of the season that anything except this current 4 is unpredictable and unprobable in terms of putting a roster together. It's just not going to happen. It's unlikely. But we wait for our players, but more importantly, I'm just excited to see how this match concludes, Ali. I feel like with the momentum back on the side of Built by Gamers, it is only a matter of time until we see them kind of explode through Game 4. I expect them to be in a good position to take the series, but it's their series to lose. If this goes to Game 5, it is certainly not their S&D to win. We know what UT Crew can do when they get on a roll. We saw it in that first S&D. What are you expecting from UT Crew, and how do you think they beat Built by Gamers going into this Game 4?
Going to this game 4, well, I just want to say I thought it was funny that you said it might be too early for a roster change because of all the roster mania that we have had in this past off season when it comes to the NA region especially. But UT Cree is definitely a team that started off really hot together as a roster. I believe one of the stats I saw, they were 3-1 in map count at some point, or series count. And to see them kind of fall a little bit here, you wonder if it's just everybody starting to play catch up. You know, it's always a game of catch up when it comes to teams like this, especially teams that end up sticking together. It's always worrisome, you know, if that one roster change on another team is just kind of bridges that gap of what they once had over them. And going into this map 4, I mean, UT Crew, we say this all the time, you can't think about the other two checkmates. And the fact that it's checkmate, 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 I mean, that's just going to be hovering over their heads. They're just going to be like, oh God, we have yet to win a checkmate in this series. So, I mean, I think it's massive for them to just kind of act like those two didn't happen. Just like take it as a straight refresh, act like they were different maps. I don't care how you do it to trick yourself, but you can't go into this saying, you know, we are down 0-2 in checkmate against this one team. And we're going into Hardpoint for the series match point. They just can't do it to themselves.
If we were to put this at least in terms of like a scatter plot and just kind of look at the last 3 games, the common denominator or the most reoccurring point would just be Pentagram on this map. He has certainly been a problem, and he has made life hell for UT Crew. So we're going into game 4. We're going to Hardpoint on checkmate, same map. You guys know the deal. But again, that has to be in the back of UT Crew's minds, knowing that that common denominator has been effective against them, regardless of whatever they've shown. At least their cards on, they put them on the table and said, you guys pick what you want. It has not worked. Pentagram has read through that mirage, and he has worked through all of that stuff. So this is going to be an interesting one. I think, honestly, maybe it's as simple as this. It really depends on what Pentagram does. If Pentagram has a big game, BBG should be able to win this. If Pentagram doesn't, and he struggles a bit, UT Crew have more than enough firepower in the back of their minds and the back of their thumbs to be able to push themselves into a game 5. But Ali, I got a feeling this one is going to be pretty close, and then we might see a team pull away at the end.
No, absolutely, and I almost think like that could be, you know, a fault for Built by Gamers, the fact that they have to weigh so much on Pentagram's shoulders to kind of be their explosive and be that winning and deciding factor. But as we get into it, Pentagram, I'm starting off on 1. It's the first couple of seconds. We're not going to judge you just yet, but that is 3 down on the side of Built by Gamers, but Kismet answers with 2, so it keeps everybody off the point inside of the plane. Currently, no time really going either side as the first couple of seconds, and now it's 17 seconds. You need to start worrying about rotation, but all of UT Crew is starting to force their way through this plane. I don't know if I agree with that sentiment as Built by Gamers are setting up. Excuse me, they spawn out across the map and leave Pander on his lonesome in the back to stay alive. I feel like he gets stuck in this situation time and time again. He's gonna get caught by Phantoms, who's for some reason taking the long way.
Well, they knew that one spawned out, and after that ugly gunfight, it was essentially an early call to rotate, but UT Crew understood that there's only 3 up, and we're still missing a player. He must have overextended, and Phantom's now on a 4 spree, 5-3. We needed to see him really begin to light it up. He's been doing so in this series, so no shade, but he has to be kind of the X factor for this team if they want a chance. But so far, they're up 42-7, a very, very good start, and with Phantoms on a 5 spree and everyone else eating at this point, Yeez is 6-1, and he's sitting in the hill, almost a minute to his name. Phantoms has 6 kills. What better of a way to start this game 4 than with everyone starting to contribute?
Pentagram is 1-6. We said you needed to shut him down, and it's obviously hurting right now. It starts to warm up here soon, but Yeez had to hurt. Hear me, I swear this is my caster curse. It's the fact that teams will hear me say something critical about a member, and they will suddenly flip the switch on me, as Yeez is 7-3 to start off this hard point.
Pander, he likes to sit on that top wing. Now it just comes down to whether or not he's able to stay up there for a long period of time. That will not happen, but got a Rex on the bottom underneath. Still looking for Rex on the top of the boxes. Won't win that heady fight, so elects to hop off and instead wait for reinforcements. On the outside, it is Pentagram, who is set up for new. If he wins the gunfight, that puts him in a valuable position, but he won't. And now the spawns are there for UT Crew. So let alone there's 30 seconds to fight over at the bottom of the wing. Spawns have flipped, and UT Crew in a very good position to set up for P4 after this kill.
Kismet with an insane start of 13-8, who's really just kind of putting his team on the backpack and hoping for them to start warming up here, as they seem to be doing so. Only 30-point deficit, so nothing too scary happening just yet, but only 10 seconds left in this hard point. We need to see a rotation out of either side currently, as both members of UT Crew are already set up onto next. He's shutting down Pentagram and Kismet under the plane. That's the last thing you want, but Number 5, Godorax making his way up through the back. He's ending up taking down 1. He needs to play his life here and wait for the cavalry to come up. It's not going to happen. He has to win this one, but he can't. So now time, again, going the side of UT Crew. They started out hot, and that's what I said they had to do if we wanted to take this hard point off of BBG.
I think someone yelled at Yeez in the pregame because now he's starting to light up. He's 11-7. He just went on a 5 spree. Okay, the subs are certainly here. Gintroid and Yeez have stepped up massively, and look at the score. It has been all of them. And that is the difference this team can have when everyone contributes. A couple of trades here and there, but time resolves and remains for BBG. A couple fall on the plane thanks to Dylan's 2-piece. Numbers funnel. Phantoms drops. Rex on the top. Cutting players down in spawn, won't really connect with either and won't finish the kill. Not a lot left in the QBC, switches to AK-74U, and Yeez will drop 13-9, but damage is done. And now we rotate to P5. And look at the map control that UT Crew has. They relinquished a little bit of time on P3, but ever since then, they've had the spawns, they've locked down P4, they're set up for P5. This has just been a great couple of hills they've been able to chain together, and this looks like a very different team than what we saw in the last 2 games.
I need BBG to just kind of scrap off 20 seconds from a hard point, stop committing to it, and just commit to a full rotation on one of these money hills, because that is the single-handed thing that they need if they want to get back into this game. They need to get a full rotation and a full setup getting to the back of a hill, because what is happening right now is they just cannot break into the front. Checkmate is just not an easy map to break through the front with how open it is, and you're running to the likes of Dylan, you're running into the likes of Phantoms, and now Yeast is needed up. Gintroid also making his way up there, so both Bad Gamers, they need to pull the pace back into their favor.
Great shots from Gintroid, and best case scenario at this moment for BBG is that you keep UT Crew out of the hill, even if you're not able to put a foot in there as well. 9 seconds to go. We go back to the top of the cabin. Highly contested it should be, but will be? That's a different question, and we'll ask that in a moment. Dylan Rex going to be able to put down the trophy, so he will survive from the first couple of flurry of nades. There goes the Semtex. Won't connect with anything. Kismet able to shut down Rex, and the cabin control goes back for BBG, and they have a full 50 they can lock down should they be able to find every single kill on the opposite side of the cabin. Here comes a 3-man hit, and here come the numbers for UT Crew. The collapse is in. Kismet might be the last one alive, and somehow still stays alive for all this time, picks up 2 kills, and Pander shuts down the third. Sliding on in is Pander, and here come the numbers for BBG. It was a great bait and switch, and even better retake, and they're going to get a majority of this P1 time, and they're going to get set up for NASA on P2.
That slide looked so OP after Kismet cut those 2, and you just saw Godorex go right into the point to help secure that time and finish that kill up for his teammate. Kismet 20-18, just doing his best to keep his team in this game, and after they get this last 10 seconds of scrap, they should be only a 20-point deficit, and UT Crew is looking to commit inside of this thing right here. Should they punish them for that, BBG needs to back up and set up for this new hill. They're incredibly spread out near the bottom side of the map. They need to start pushing their forces closer to the front lines, or else they're going to get punished for it, just like they did in the last rotation.
The decision had to be moved through the plane for cover and then try to overextend through the back to pinch out spawns and get the flank. UT Crew make the right call, but they're not getting the right kills. Finally, a couple drop in their favor. Pentagram off spawn, and the close spawns are there for Built by Gamers, so the advantage goes back their way, and they maintain hill control, so they have not been contested. Phantoms on the opposite side gets cut down, and oh my god, Pentagram is on a rampage. 2 kills in a row, 14-18. When he starts to get going, it gets dangerous. Finally, he gets cut down, but not a single member from UT Crew has stepped foot inside this hill, and the lead will go back for BBG. Now we look at the rotation. Who's going to win the fight so far? A similar situation to what we had earlier under the plane. It's UT Crew set up at mid-map, and they get the opening kills. They should have the early time if it comes down to Dylan Rex on the opposite side.
Kismet needs to play his life and play in here, as he is the most pushed up out of all of BBG. He needs to wait for the cavalry, as here it starts to come. Pander able to cut down 1, able to cut down the second one with Pentagram. You do not want Pentagram and Kismet firing on all cylinders at the same time, as we are watching how dangerous it can be. Finally, there's 3 on the side of UT. Dylan turns and burns on Godorex in the corner, and now suddenly we might see a lead change coming in once again. Both my gamers need to start working on this rotation. They need to stop getting spawn trapped into this back side of this map, because it is punishing them so bad.
It seems like every time we get to kind of this state of the game, or at least this set of hills, Built by Gamers have been working off the back foot, getting spawned out and stuck, and UT Crew have managed mid-map control, put a chokehold down on the 50-yard line. Pentagram able to break into the hill, 20 seconds to go, but again, we look at the rotations, and now we go to P4. Who's gonna be there? BBG's trying to fight a 1v2, and it's up to Kismet. Phantoms is underneath, and numbers get called out, but he's getting collapsed in on, able to find one, so weak, and can't turn and burn on Rex. Rex picks up the kill, and oh my god, that's not good for BBG. Look how far out they're spawning. Look how split the numbers are. It's a collapse in. Pander's able to find one, and he might have done just enough to give them some breathing room, and now you can have the reinforcements funnel on in appropriately, but still, it's a little bit too close for my liking. And Allie, this one's very, very scrappy going into P5.
Absolutely. Yee's made a huge play hitting that ult and getting that plane control going to this next hill, because you can kind of just stay there and watch over that mid side, and that's what kind of made BBG fall apart. But Pander coming up the rear and getting those 2 kills was huge, because now selling time's going on Built by Gamers. They know where UT Crew is spawning. Pentagram has plane control, which is the last person on this roster that I would want shooting me in the back, as Yeez is about to get punished for it. Kismet and Pentagram on through mid. Sure, they get taken down in hill, but no serious time going to either side just yet.
Pentagram finds both. He'll do so, and everyone else on his team spawns at P5. They're just going to hold the time there, and it's a great hold and a great little break from Pentagram, and Built by Gamers now in a very good spot. This game 4 didn't look that great for them. They're able to bounce back. They're able to get a couple of good chains together on these hills, and now they are just 1 hill away from winning the series 3-1. Here comes a contest. No one's going to win that gunfight. Pentagram switched to the sidearm, trying to fight Dylan. Long range with an AR will not work, but I love the charisma there. 33 and 24. Kismet having a great game. Streaks are in, and it connects with 1. The artillery is good enough, and you must contest or they're going to win it here.
Kismet and Pentagram just absolutely putting on a clinic. Kismet is 34 and 24 with 1 minute and 30 in hill. He is doing it all. Pentagram has absolutely dominated this plane, as just nobody can get past him. Built by Gamers have seriously turned the gears, especially looking to go on another streak. Oh my god, he has 6 already. He finally gets shut down, but UT Crew, they have a lot of work to do. They have 5 seconds to get into this point. Nobody's even close enough to make it. Yeez maybe delays it for just a second. The Phantoms get shut down, and Built by Gamers clean the series 3-1.
Ooh, that's scary to watch. If you are not a fan of BBG, or you feel like your team's going to play them at some point, you do not want Pentagram to be playing like this. This kid is disgusting. And when Kismet is firing in all cylinders and Pentagram starts to feel like he's eating, Checkmate might not be the map to be putting BBG on. This is a dangerous team, a dangerous roster, and while shaky at times in Hardpoint, their respawn looks much, much better. And ooh, my god, BBG now move up to, I believe, 3rd place in North America, and this is a team to be looking at. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, they look crazy. It was really exciting to be able to watch Pentagram go to town. I mean, you mentioned that he was always such an impactful player whenever he went off. I think we heard his name quite a bit there.
Yeah, I mean, listen, man, when your sub's able to do stuff like that, Fox, I mean, you've watched some of and casted over some of the most incredible, talented subs in Call of Duty history. He is getting, I'm not going to say to that point, but he is certainly showing the signs of becoming a force when it comes to putting some of the best subs in that conversation in North America, at least for the Challenger circuit. But Allie, kind of breaking down that series, I mean, talk to me a little bit about, you know, what they were able to do in the respawns, because for a while in that game 4, BBG were getting spawned out, and they would have to make a late rotation, and then when they locked down NASA, yes, they were getting the close spawn, so they're able to consistently hold the time, but UT Crew had mid-map set up for P3, P4, and P5 consistently. But it wasn't until the second rotation of hills that they eventually lost that, even though they still had middle map control. What were you seeing at that point that Built by Gamers were doing differently as opposed to what they did in the start of the game, where they were struggling to get past mid-map?
They finally started committing to getting that rotation. They literally, like I said, I swear players can hear me the second I start saying it, because as soon as I start talking about how, you know, it's uncharacteristic of them to not be early on rotations and not kind of scrap that last 20 seconds, that's when they started doing it. And that's when Pentagram started to heat up. And I know in this whole series, Pentagram, it was just it was either he's on all cylinders or you're losing to the UT crew. But what I want to really talk about and focus on for a second is Kismet. Kismet dropped over 30, had more kills than Pentagram, even though Pentagram, was having the flashier, 3 pieces, going on a 6 and 7 streak and pulling those streaks in and, really turning the game around for BBG and ended up getting them that win. Kismet put his team on the back until that happened. He was consistently throughout that entire map, just getting the kills that he needed to. He was getting the flashy 2 pieces. He was keeping his team in the game until they started to warm up. And I feel like we've seen that a lot in this challenger scenes where like a veteran player like Kismet, like Exotic, kind of put their team in a backpack for a second, just give them the time to heat up and give them the time to fall into their groove and kind of clear their headspace. So that was great to watch out of him.
And here are the replays from that last Hardpoint in Fox. Now I have to ask you the question, because me and Ali talked a little bit about this on broadcast, but looking at this UT crew, right? They have a relatively successful season 1, even though they kind of fall short, but now they're struggling at least to beat teams that are rising up through the middle of the pack. Do we have to have a conversation about a serious roster change, or is this just them still working out the woes of this early roster and maybe considering a possible role change instead of a roster change?
I think maybe these guys need a little bit more time, right? They recently dropped Mox and beat Fantastic Four to qualify. They've already made a pretty big change. They're looking for a sports psychologist. I saw on the Built by Gamers, one of the managers, and I thought that's pretty interesting. It just tells you that they're looking to invest in their players. They're looking to try and have these guys put together the best performance they can.
And it's kind of staying on that same point, like if we look at UT crew and we say, okay, Phantoms jumps to Wester for maybe less than a day, now he's back, and there are times when it seems like there's enough firepower on this team to compete, but I don't know if there's enough firepower to propel them. There's enough to close out series. There's enough to have them beat teams like Built by Gamers and teams in North America that are slowly rising to the top, like Westers, like Easters. Do we have to look at them and say, hey, now is a time for a roster change? Or is it another situation of just let them work it out and see what they do by the end of the season?
I still say we're just a couple days into it, right? Give it another try, take some more time to it, and
Sure.
don't rush to any crazy decisions.
Yeah, and Ali, kind of looking at the recap of that entire series, again, the first map pick we knew of specifically was Apocalypse Hardpoint in Game 1. Built by Gamers pick that. They eventually drop it, but on Checkmate, it looks like they've got something figured out, and maybe that map just kind of works to the build of this team, but it certainly looks like the veterans on the roster are able to work effectively together. They look like they're reading through the map much quicker than everyone else, and the subs look like they're just kind of doing their job. And maybe that's an oversimplification, or not even a simplification enough of what the team's doing, but do you think that this kind of core group of Checkmate, Hardpoint, and S&D all on Checkmate, or just maybe Checkmate in general, do you think that map is favoring BBG going forward and we might see them pick it from now on?
I would say it's favoring them, especially they're feeling good after winning it 3 times in a row. But I mean, if you're the competition, having just watched that series, I don't think we're going to be seeing them play it anytime soon, the way vetoes worked out. If I was any other team and I saw that happen, I'd be like, Checkmate is chalked. Just the full veto all the way through against that team after seeing the clinic that they just put on. But again, that could work for their favor, because all we see, is what the map series laid out for us. All we saw was 3 checkmates. We didn't really get to see them on any other maps. So maybe that could work out in their favor, should that somehow, in whatever world, not be their best map. Because should teams not only fear them now on that and possibly veto it, it could allow them to expand their map pool, put another map that they're really good at or even better at on the board. So definitely some scary stuff out of Built by Gamers.
Yeah, it really is just an interesting storyline across the board, and I like the progression we're seeing from this team because, again, they had a very disappointing season 1. They make a roster change, and now they take home a Challengers Cup victory. They come 3rd in the first open event just a week or so ago, and it looks like they're on the rise. And yes, there are still moments in those respawns, specifically the hard points, where they make a couple of mistakes on rotation. They make a couple of weird late-game mistakes, and they make some commitments and decisions as a team that you're not really sure if it's going to work out, but we're just going to kind of go with it. I would like to see some more polish in the hard points, but good things on the horizon for Built by Gamers, and I hope the players feel good about the progress they've made because it's certainly paying off. But now we look at the standings in total for North America, and while they aren't entirely updated, it does bring up a conversation of this. Built by Gamers beat UT Crew 3-1, so now they move into 4th place, and Fantastic Four at this moment is still sitting in 3rd. So again, Built by Gamers moving themselves up the ladder, and if they're able to beat Fantastic Four again, if they're able to continue that same success, Built by Gamers can move up to top 3 and even contend for a top 2 spot where Wester and Easter currently sit. Allie, I mean, this is a complete flip from what we saw them do in Season 1, and what a way to do it, right? To kind of have a huge resurgence and finally everyone starts to click. But do you think we're going to see them move up into that top 3, possibly top 2 conversation?
No, absolutely. I can 100% see it happening. I mean, it does ride a lot on the consistency of Pentagram and on the consistency of Kismet, but I mean, those are, seasoned players. So I'm not too worried about the consistency on their end. I do think they could 100% become a top contender. When it comes to Wester and Easter, I'm a little bit iffy in that conversation there. We've seen them kind of go up against these bigger teams and kind of fall later on in the series. So maybe possibly if they keep up that consistency throughout the entire way. We saw them go against UT Crew, who is also kind of still just middle of the pack. So I feel like we still have a lot more to see out of them. I feel like their ceiling is still pretty high, but they're definitely looking good going into it.
And now we take a kind of just a quick peek, Fox, at, Easter and Wester, right? Like, these are the top 2 teams, and one of the R's is going to move on at some point. They're going to be number 1. But it just comes down to which one. I have to tell you that at least kind of that storyline, I'm very much looking forward to seeing them eventually play each other. But do you think we're going to be seeing one of those 2 Wester or Easter teams move out of the top 2? Or do you think that those 2 have solidified themselves early on enough to be able to work through mistakes and maintain that top 2 spot? And it just comes down to which team in that rivalry eventually takes the top cake.
That's probably what I'm most excited to see in this region, is which one of those 2 ends up taking that top spot. Because as much as I very much see the storyline of John being that comeback king, we also talk about how consistent Wester has been, and they have that awesome addition of Parasite that I'm sure it's only going to go up from here for them. So it's really exciting. But today, and in the northern region, what we're coming up with next is going to be Aerial Arise facing off against Higher for our final matchup of the night.
This is going to be a very, very interesting one. And actually, we have, after this, it's going to be actually Aerial Rise and Wester. So we get to see Aerial Rise a little bit back to back, but Higher coming up. Again, I believe we watched Higher last night. And as 2020, 2021, it's just 2020 part 2, as time continues to elude me. I do remember that Higher still seemed to be like they are struggling a little. And I know that we throw that word around loosely, but we need more. And specifically, Allie's words, Mox might not be the right addition for this team, because this is a very slow AR team. You look at Zinx, Mox, Hollow, and Exotic, and they move out Proto, they move out Mayhem, and you need Exotic if he's going to be that leader and the underguiding hand. And then if Zinx is going to be that mobile AR, where else does everybody come into play? Because this is an AR heavy team. Allie, you talked about it a lot in depth last night, but kind of rehash for all of us. Like, what is some of the problems we're seeing with Higher as we go into one of their series against Aerial Rise currently?
What's shocking is we saw such good things out of Exotic on the first roster that he ended up being on in Season 1. Should have that just been kind of like opening statistics or just, opening whatever's. But I see him on this roster, he doesn't seem to fit properly. He doesn't seem like the right puzzle piece. It's one of those things where you take all these players separately, and they're decorated, they're good, talented players, but together they haven't found the right mesh. And I know I really dug into Mox when we were watching them playing, but it wasn't that I was digging into him, because he was doing great things on the map. He was going off when they were playing, but the thing is, Mox is not who you need going off on that team. You do not need your slow AR to be the superstar getting all the 2s and 3 pieces. That this makes no sense to me. So I do hope seeing them coming up that we see some sort of change from what we saw yesterday.
Yeah, and you look at the roster of this team, and I believe we have the maps also ready to go to take a quick peek at. But Fox, this is the interesting thing, right? Zinx, Mox, Hollow, and Exotic. Where is that big front sub? Where is that initial sub player? And sure, it doesn't mean that players on this team aren't running the AK-74U, but you look at a team like Built by Gamers, Pentagram, that's the number 1. You look at even Easter, right? You look at John, you look at Wester, you look at Venom with that sub. I feel like they're missing that big, prime time sub player that can break up that monotonous, slow gameplay. And here's the map layout as Higher were able to take map 1 on Apocalypse Hardpoint. They take the control 3-0, and now they're up 2-1 against Aerial Rise. Aerial Rise is a newer team, so it's no shade off their butt, but it's important to remember that this is a slower team in Higher. Do you think they need a big sub, or does it just come down to utilizing what you got and working through that as a team?
I think they can certainly get some mileage out of someone like Exotic for that role, right? Tell him to play a little bit more selfishly. Tell him to just really get into it and try and work on it himself.
Well, with that said, I thank you, Fox, so much for always joining us. Unfortunately, we're going to have to say goodbye for now, and let's jump into Game 4. Again, this is the kind of second to last match of the night. After this series, it will be Aerial Arise versus Wester, but until then, we sit on the series they are currently playing. It's Aerial Arise versus Higher. Let's get into Garrison Hardpoint for map number 4. And Allie, it's been pretty back and forth, but Higher currently have a 2-1 series lead. They take the first Hardpoint, they take the control, they lose that game to S&D, and now they have a chance to close out the series 3-1. Will we see them do it on Garrison?
Aerial Rise has kind of been one of the bottom more tier teams, I feel like, in our Elite Series thus far. And just looking at the scores in the control and in the Hardpoint in the series thus far, I don't see Higher having any sort of problem shutting down Aerial and just completely kind of steamrolling through. As we're watching right now, as our kill feed light up white. But Aerial, I mean, young players, they are always, welcome to surprise.
Hey, if there was ever a sentence I would live by in Challengers Call of Duty, it would be a welcome surprise. I love when we see new talent rise to the top and just find a way to shake up the current establishment of players, and it always just puts a smile on my face because I love chaos, and everyone's dying, so I believe we might be looking at a reset, and we will. But at this moment, we take a quick breather, but let's talk a little bit about this Aerial Arise roster, because these are new guns. These are new players making their way into the Challenger scene for the first time. They qualified through the Elite qualifiers, and they move into Season 2 as new blood. And that is the interesting storyline here, is that we haven't seen a lot of them, but more importantly, the players haven't seen a lot of them. So there is a bit of leeway when it comes to being able to escape some series and possibly catch teams off guard. But Welly, Hate, Juju, and Ulysses, I mean, they're new blood in the league. They all played trades pretty correctly, and I've watched some of their scrims. I watched them playing through some of the qualifiers. They play trades really, really well in Respawn, but they struggled to close out games late in the game, and that is specifically on Hardpoints. I was a little bit worried about their ability to really put the choke slam down on their opponents. And when they get flipped in Hardpoints and they start to break down, they have issues breaking out of that chokehold and then locking down spawns for new, or locking down spawns on the current hill. So there are small amateur things that we can look at for this team. But Allie, for new players coming in, is it a bigger hurdle than some would expect to play against a bunch of former veterans and or former pros that are currently in the league? Or do you see them as on the same playing field, and it's just about kind of showing up to the match that day and doing what you're here to do?
Well, the fact that they qualify already kind of sets them in, that they are a good team. They can be a top contender. But one thing that I haven't seen with this team that's usually a pretty across the board when it comes to newcomers and new people rising in the scene, new teams rising, is usually they do kind of steal a couple series. Usually they come out pretty hot because nobody knows what to expect. So usually the new players, and especially the young ones, catch a lot of veteran teams off guard and do weird things that vets would find annoying and don't really know how to handle or answer to right back just yet. But thus far, Aerial Arise, correct me if I'm wrong, don't think they've won a series, and that's just not what you want out of a new team coming in and wanting to use that surprise factor, because clearly what they've been doing then hasn't been that surprising. And just like you said, they play together really well. It's like a very fundamentally good team when you watch them play Respawn, but they have yet to kind of have that superstar. They've yet to have the kind of that X factor where they pull away games. They have a little shine of light. They get a couple points on the board. They don't get completely shut out, but at the end of the day, they just have yet to really put themselves out there to really make a name for themselves.
Yeah, they haven't won a series yet in the Challengers Elite Series, and moving into Season 2, I mean, this is their first 3 or 4 series really of the entire tournament, so I don't blame them for coming out a little bit slow, because again, you're playing against rosters that have made roster changes just to get better. These are teams that have already been through the gauntlet of this season, or I should say from last season, and this might be a time where, let's say they come in tonight, they drop this one, and now let's move into the game, and they then follow up and drop against Wester. If you go down, I believe at that point it would be 0-4 or 0-5. If you go down 0-4 in your first week, at that point, it's going to get pretty difficult to be able to move up to the middle of the pack. Not saying it's impossible, but that's at the point where as a team, you're just trying to play to represent yourself. You're trying to play and show that you as a player can certainly stand out on this level and possibly be scouted for a potential roster change in the future from somebody else. But I am very, very interested to see if they do win here, or if they just end up losing tonight altogether. They don't win a single series. I want to know how they bounce back next week. I want to see what improvements they've made, because the mistakes can sometimes be very flagrant from challengers players and from amateurs, because there's a lot to learn at this level. But I'm just excited to see what they're able to bring to the table, and I'm more importantly excited to see Exotic running a sub for the first time in a while.
I completely agree with everything you just said, Space. And as we hop into the game, we're kind of seeing the same fashion as we did at the beginning, where Ariel got exactly 10 points as well off of the first P1, and they got kind of beamed off, and now Hire is kind of taking that on back. Zinx is starting out 5, and now Exotic starting out 4 and 2. Already some good stuff out of them, but number 7, that's going to be Juju. He's trying to make a bit of a rotation for his team, unable to lock down too many kills, but it does allow 2 of his teammates to push up, but Mox is just not having it as he shuts down 1, but another one slips through for Ariel, so they are able to gain spawns, but time right now is still going the way of Hire. They need to kind of collapse onto this hill and collapse on too fast before the front line of Hire is able to help Mox and Zinx and Hill.
And for people who might be tuning in recently and wondering, where is the XM4? Well, that was GA'd out. It started with Europe, and it worked its way over to North America. So we're only really looking at the Kriegs for your ARs, as well as the QBZs, which have just been introduced within maybe the next, or I should say, the last week or so. And from that, really, North America's been the only region to pull out the QBZ. Everyone else has been running Kriegs, and it looks like it's working for a bunch of teams, and maybe it's just the new meta going forward. But we're looking at Nick Haight on your screen, who currently has a good setup towards top green at the top of the stairs, but he might get ripped off by Mox. He will. And Aerial Arise had a solid chunk of time they were able to rack up on P2. Now you rotate towards the back of Lights for P3, and Ulysses doing so much work in Caution. What is he going to be able to find? Well, he gets finally cut down, but the early time is still there for Aerial Arise, and they're doing a good job of holding on to the spawns in the process.
A huge play out of Yuli. He's 8 and 6, kind of putting his name out there as we watch, and I hope he doesn't mind as I call out the gamer tag as just Yuli. But he gets 2 with the nade and 3 with the gun. Now that is more time going on the side of Ariel. I think we're watching definitely a different team, but the veteran Mox comes up front and shuts them down quite quickly. But definitely some life coming out of Ariel here in this series, as again we saw that earlier Hardpoint stat of I believe 250 to 160. So maybe it's just one of those situations again where they kind of hang for a bit and then eventually just can't pull away, and the other team kind of capitalizes on that. So we're watching the rotation go through. Ariel again, second time in a row to be early on this setup.
And Hollow, the one half of the rookie duo that used to be Hollow and Draza on the formerly known Optic Gaming Los Angeles roster back in Modern Warfare, and he had a very, very good year, and now again he's trying to work his way back up to the top of the Pro League. He was able to fill in appropriately in Champs time, and he's had such a great career so far. We'd love to see him continue on throughout the next couple of years, but Exotic doesn't hit any of his shots and gets cut down on the burn. And it might have been enough to at least stall out for time. Zig's able to find 2 kills on a 6 spree of his own, and he's picked up all 6 in this life. 11 and 7 for Exotic, now working through the back of Radar, and Exotic is having trouble. He's getting turned on, he can't finish kills, and Aerial Arise are needing to work through the hill. They haven't found a lead, but you know what? If they keep shooting like that, they might be able to walk away with this game.
I started catching flies in my mouth, Spaceman, after seeing that turn and burn on Exotic after he was behind 2 players. We were going to act like that didn't happen, as Hire is sitting with a good, comfortable 30-second lead, and Exotic is 12 and 9 anyway. He didn't need that double, and only 10 seconds left. A lot of commitment here going in this ult, but they have to push through mid here anyway to try and get to this next point. Exotic looking to shut down Welly, unable to end goal, and once again, Aerial Arise, they've just consistently been early on rotation and on setups, but they've been broken within a couple of seconds, so I'm hoping to see them maybe get a more solid defense and execute it a little bit better, as Exotic is behind enemy lines once again. We'll see if he's able to get the 2. He gets the 1, he finally shuts down Welly. That's the 2-piece that he was looking for, and now he's just going to take control over Bricks.
I was just going to say, he doesn't really look too comfortable with the sub, but as I think that, he finds 2 kills, and Ulysses is able to pick up 2 as well. Exotic still alive, not for long, but 167, and now Hollow is following in the same fashion, 11 and 12, and now we start to rotate back to P1. We'll be there. And who will be set up first? It's Ulysses at top green, 4 in the kill feed for Aerial Rise. They're doing a good job of maintaining that P5 pressure. They have everyone else spawned out for hire. They're locking down those kills. It's Ulysses on your screen who gets cut down. Sings finds that kill. Hollow stands no chance, and Welly with the Krieg in hand able to pick up 3 on this life. Nades flying on in, but it won't take him out of position. Never mind, Sings does that. 104 to 83. Now we go back to P1. Trophies are down, and Aerial Rise are set up first.
The setup was so good for Ariel to kind of force that spawn trap into Higher in the back, but unfortunately the execution just wasn't there. But no worries, couple seconds on this P1 still going their way as they are getting the little staggered hits out of Higher. They have yet to really just group together and make this first push, as Zinx is trying to just maybe contest for a second. Don't know why he didn't wait for his teammates there, but some good time over aerial rise. We're going to see a lead change here coming into this, and if they keep capitalizing on getting these earlier rotations over Higher, we could possibly see them finally take away a game. But as soon as I say that, Zinx calls in his score streaks and making them forced off of the point. 20 seconds going the way of Higher, and if I had anything, Juju answers with 2, but that's 18 seconds. Number 2, that's going to be Exotic first on rotation, but he is on his own. He's going to have to answer to 2 players from aerial rise. That's going to be Juju and Yuli, and I don't think this is going to go any good way for him. But as soon as I say that, Mox comes through back into the bricks. There's 1 player left on the point, and now it's all white on your kill feed.
That's such a big win by Mox because it gives green control back to Higher, and that just allows you to have the height advantage on the hill. Exotic kind of works to the top of the steps, but Mox gets ripped off radar, and what a great retake from Aerial Rise. They are committing numbers here appropriately. All the trophies will get cut down, so nades will not be a factor. And we'll just sit in here for 40 or so seconds. How do you collapse if you're Higher? They're trying to put numbers on the floor and get set up for the rotation, but you still have to worry a bit about the time because this is 30 seconds that is quite important. Streaks are in, and Welly will take him down. Zinc still in the Predator missile. You'll finally find one, but won't close out on the second. Higher move their way back into the hill, but spawning out is Juju. Does he elect to go back for the follow-up contest, or do they overextend? Well, don't worry. Nick is already on that. He has extended to P3. He is already at the very back of caution, and this is the best possible scenario for Aerial Rise.
They committed so much to 20 seconds on old, and now there's a money hill popping. They have to start getting earlier on these rotations. They are about even with Aerial Rise. You are a team that has streaks on your side, and you are even with Aerial Rise and late on rotations after committing those streaks to the old 20 seconds. You need to start getting earlier. They can't even break in. Welly takes down 2-1. Unfortunately ends up being his teammates, but that's fine on his Juju. And Nick needs to clean up. Hollow, though, will be last alive in the hill. And finally, a little bit of good hold about to come out of Higher here as they are set up for this money hill. But they have to, if they want to succeed, at least going after the series, they need to start doing these early rotations.
First minute of time will go for Exotic. He finally gets 60 seconds on the board. Hollow desperately looking for that second kill in his life. He'll get it on Welly. Gets shut down, but he might have bought enough time again. Reinforcements funnel through. Zinx will find 1. Zinx for 2. Will he find 3? Yeah, he will. He moves in, gets the contest and the break, and he will not get the 4th. But again, 8 seconds to fight over. Mid-map control for Higher. We look at the P4 rotation back down onto the main floor, and they have green there as well. Zinx is at top green. Almost 30 and 19. He is having a great game, and this is perfect position. But look at the spawns. Look at the spawns for Aerial Rise. They're out at radar, and somehow the spawns work out for them. And if they crash through top green and take out Mox, this is a perfect flip that could pay off in their way.
Finally, an early setup out of Higher, which seems to start going their way, but Aerial Rising are answering right back. And like I said, their fundamentals are so good. It's just the execution sometimes isn't there, but it's showing up right now as they are staying toe-to-toe with Higher. I mean, they aren't even, their engagements are so low. Yuli is 27 and 21. Welly, 24 and 21. Just absolutely doing what he can on the map for his teammates. Higher, they need to stop committing to these last 20 seconds of time. They need to set up for new. They need to start getting a full 60, and they need to start pulling away from Aerial Rise, or they could see their first drop in Hardpoint.
Mox needs help. Zinx needs help from Hollow and Exotic. You need your subs to start contributing. Hollow needs to find one on the floor. He'll do so. Ulysses cuts him down. Zinx able to get a decent trade there. 181 and counting to 185. Pressure and time now for Higher on P5. Juju in the back, so weak, tagged up. Anyone else going to be there for the trade? No. Instead, he stays alive and plays his life, and he can move in. So they have hill time, and they won't get the lead back. Exotic finally wins the turn gunfight, and now Higher in a position to, again, run away a bit with this lead. But Aerial Rise always finding a way to get involved in the fight, always finding a way to stay committed to the push, as they will sit in on the hill, and numbers begin to spread out, just kind of staggering themselves in one at a time. Trades are there back and forth. It's about as clustered as it could possibly be. Neutral hill for no one.
I'm watching them on the minimap, and they're just going for the kills. Mox, get in the hill, get the time. You guys desperately need this. We're in the final stretch of the game. I mean, every time it seems Hire has a foothold, Ariel just answers right back and breaks them. And once again, Hire is late on rotation. Ariel could take it and run with it here. They get this full 60, but nobody's on the time just yet. Somebody needs to hop on the time. Nick, please get in. Finally, time going the way of Ariel Arise. And Hire, they're stuck out in no man's land in mid right now. They need one good break here. They need this whole time P1, and that's exactly what they're looking to do as Mox and Zinx take down 2.
Can't win it here if your Aerial arrived, and I don't think Hire can either. Nope, no one will win it, so we will see a rotation to top radar. Just about who wins it. You can already see 5 coming off spawn. It's Willie. He's thinking about that. He's thinking about getting the top grade, getting set up in a position. He moves to the bottom of the floor, and he takes down Exotic in the process. Juju able to find 2 kills. It starts to collapse in on the point. We move through Lights, and Juju working to the back of Lights. Exotic wins the gunfight, but the spawns are there, and the rotation is there from Zinx. They're going to give up this last bit of time. You can win it on radar. Zinx working through the back, takes down 1. Juju going to come in for the challenge. Juju sliding. Juju staying alive, not for long, and he still picks up the gunfight. Somehow, Juju comes away with the win, and now Aerial Arise can collapse with 2 numbers at least. But Hollow wins a big one. Here comes Nick. He gets shut down, and Hollow picks up the 2 biggest kills of this hardpoint. Welly in the top of green. He picks up both. Here comes the 3rd, and it's just nothing but chaos into the point. Exotic still staying alive.
It was all up to Zinx. It was all up to Hollow. And they managed to keep themselves in the game for just a bit longer as the cavalry from Hire finally made their way into the hill point. But this is such a tough hold from the front. They have to get every kill thus for 30 seconds to win. Ariel,
Allie,
what do? You have to break this.
Look at the game clock. Look at the
30
game clock.
seconds. They can't get out. No, it should be fine. They're full in hill right now. Even if they contest, Ariel cannot push their way in here. Else the clock will start to go down. 27.8 seconds. 18 seconds in the hill. Somebody needs to rotate, and that's going to be 3 and 2 remaining. It's going to be Zinx and Exotic first on the next hill.
Well, if they keep contesting, I mean, you have a chance, but again, we can win it here. And with that contest, we will close it out. So no, you won't win it here. We rotate, but setup is higher. This is the final hold. You only need 3 seconds, and no one's in a position for Aerial Rise. They just couldn't get across the map in time. A bit of an anticlimactic way to end that hard point, and they committed numbers appropriately. That's what you had to do on radar. You had to keep this game from ending on P2, but you also have to make sure you have numbers there to rotate. They were nowhere close, and Hire win a very close and dicey game 4. They win the hard point on Garrison. They win the series 3-1. Even with that said, it still looked a little bit sloppy at times for Hire, Allie. I am a little concerned about this roster moving forward.
Absolutely. What should have been, I feel like, a blowout. Not to mention seeing that first stat line from that hard point and seeing that 3-0 control. And I wonder if that's maybe just Aerial Arise kind of kickstarting themselves and maybe just everybody being on full gears, because, I mean, they were playing incredibly well. They were getting the early rotations. They were getting that early setup. And just unfortunately, just kept getting broken by Hire. And then near the end, you know, you had your streaks come out. And they weren't able to close it out in the end. But I mean, if I'm Aerial Arise, I'm not feeling that bad, especially not after that hard point. I mean, this is a veteran team on Hire, and to see them struggle so much against such a new team, especially this late in a series, that's incredibly worrying. I mean, props to them. They got the streaks. They outslayed. They had the high engagements. They won it in the end. They got that control. They did the last final early rotations, but that's not something you could just pull out of your hat at the end of a game. You need to be consistently doing it at the beginning. You need to be doing early rotations at the beginning. You need to be setting up the beginning. Yeah. You cannot just pull it out of the hat at the very end. So definitely some worries on the side of Hire.
And for Aerial Rise, I mean, this is a good foundation to work off of. Yes, a disappointing performance and a disappointing, I guess, first week, but we have one more match to go, and here's the schedule. It's the same team, Aerial Rise versus Wester. An interesting little stat about Wester. They lost their series to Fantastic Four. They get swept 3-0. So Wester get blown out, apparently, against Fantastic Four. Of course, Fantastic Four being Dav Patty, Standy, Sib, and Jimbo. And now I believe Wester have been moved out of second place, and that means Fantastic Four should be in second, which means that Easter and Fantastic Four are the number 2 teams, number 1 and 2 respectively, I should say, in North America. But Aerial Rise versus Wester. Listen, this could be a match. This could be a match where Aerial Rise come out and stun Wester. It's highly unlikely, but if they did, not only what a way to end off your first week, not only what a way to regain and hit the hard rebound button, but Wester coming off of a loss that they feel like they should have won. I mean, map 1 was 250 to 119. Map 2 was round 11. Map 3 was 3-1. Clearly, Fantastic Four had their number, but Aerial Rise, I know it sounds stupid to say, but Fox, There have been times where a big team comes down and plays a bunch of nobodies, and the nobodies are scrappy and they're fighting hard and they can't find anything, and they just stun the big team and they take them down. Tell me I'm crazy or tell me I'm right. I feel like this could be a very dangerous matchup for Wester.
Ah, man, what do you want? Wester's got this. I mean, I'm looking at a team that this could have happened to them in stage 1 and it didn't. This could have happened to them at any point. This week they're already 2-0. This is a great team, great players. I think that it's going to be a really tough matchup. It'd be a hard sell for you to convince me that Aerial has upset them.
Space
I don't
really
know
just
why
said
I try to get so
that.
excited. I don't know why. You know what? I try to get excited for potential. I don't know why I listen to you guys anymore. I try to get so positive. And nothing
Hey, look.
Listen,
It would be kind of nuts. I would love to see Exotic. We kind of mentioned just how strong of a submachine gun player that he could be in the last matchup. Maybe we could see some of that action here after this break.
well, maybe we can. And if there's one player on Wester who can hit the hard regain and help people get back in the right mindset, it's Parasite. But until we get to see the actual action of said match, we have to throw it to a commercial break. And when we come back, the final match of North America tonight, it's Aerial Arise and Wester. You don't want to miss it. Welcome back, Call of Duty players. It is time for the final match of the night, and more importantly, the final match of tonight for North America. Up now, it's Aerial Arise versus Wester, and this, look, I think it's going to be an interesting one. I know you guys disagree, but I'm just excited because I have faith in the Aerial Arise boys, but more importantly, Wester have been knocked out of their top 2 spot thanks to Fantastic Four and that 3-0 sweep. Now they basically fight back to try to get to top 2, but I'm joined by Fox and Allie, who will be taking you guys through all the beautiful action. But guys, listen, Wester's out of top 2, which means that Easter, on a bit of a troll, is actually in number 1. And Fantastic Four, that is the more interesting storyline here because I just love the roster composition. I'm excited to see more of them. But sticking with this match, we have Wester and Aerial Arise. A lot of you probably feel there is a disparity and a massive difference between the talent on one team and another. I tend to agree with that. We look at this Wester roster and we look at now Parasite coming in, filling in a couple of roles. Parasite, Glow, Frosty, Zaptius, and Venom. I mean, that is just scary. That is the thing of nightmares. Allie, looking at what Parasite can do for a team, but so much raw talent with Venom and Zaptius, and bringing in Glow Frosty, who is showing that the leave from Subliners Academy was very detrimental for them. What do you think this roster is capable of now that you have the IGO and the leader and Parasite on the team?
Oh, they are capable of so much. I would argue to say right now that they are definitely top 3 in the NA region, and the fact that they fell to Fantastic Four isn't, I mean, it's definitely a shocking stat line, especially because it was a 3-0, but personally, sure, Fantastic Four, they kind of still had that surprise factor going to them. We talked about it, how it was missing from Aerial Arise being a new roster, kind of like, you know, giving that and jumping on that, being a new squad and bringing new things to the table that, you know, they aren't used to. But I mean, Wester, I mean, again, their roster has been flip-flopped a million times over. So we also kind of have to give them that handicap as well of, you know, having those changes and not having that much practice. So going against the top tier like Fantastic Four, it's almost, you know, gives them that little bit of leverage of not being like a little bit, whoa, that's a little out of left field. But into this next match, I almost feel like Wester's feeling a bit like it was a troll. Like, if I know anything about amateurs, if they lose to a team, well, especially in a 3-0 fashion, and they're already high caliber, they're kind of be like, that was just a troll game. We need to go in this quick 3-0, kind of put our spirits back up, get our egos back up. And so I feel like Wester going into this match against Aerial Arise will be incredibly hot.
Wester is a team where personal talent and individual skill alone, they could skate by throughout most brackets. Let's take a look at the maps of the series, because again, I'm interested to know what exactly we will be looking at. Well, it's Checkmate up first, followed by Miami, Checkmate, then Raid, then Checkmate. So it seems to be that Checkmate is now the theme, and Raid will be there for a Game 4 Hardpoint should we go there. But I think a lot of people feel, Fox, that this one might end in 3. However, you have Miami S&D, which is pretty unpredictable, but the old Wester roster used to be very proficient at S&D on Miami, so you're looking at Zaptius and Venom to have a similar success there. Parasite's no scrub either, and Glow Frosty is arguably the best AR in North America. But across the board, standard, interesting, different. What are your thoughts?
I'm thinking that Miami S&D should certainly be right up their alley, right? Like you said, that one of the newer additions, Parasite, Glow Frosty. I mean, these guys are no slouch in Search and Destroy. Parasite's been playing it for longer than most players have been playing Call of Duty at all. So I'm really looking forward to see what Wester can do there. As far as, you know, some of the shakiness they might have had recently and causing the roster changes, of course, they did have some poor March performances, but I still think that we're going to see these guys come through composed and ready to play straight through these first 3 maps.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, and seeing Checkmate consistently pop up, it's not becoming, again, a player favorite. But, Allie, I mean, we have Raid at map 4, and we all know what Parasite did in Black Ops 2, eventually came through with a world championship win under Farico Impact. That's a blast from the past, but, you know, that might, you know, give him a little bit of a smile as he's looking to send these boys in on at the end of the day, home with a win. But for Aerial Arise, is there any map in this lineup? I look at the Miami, but is there any map in this lineup that you're looking at, Allie, and map mode, potentially, that you say they could have a good chance at stealing, and if so, might help them in the series?
Personally, when I look at this map layout, I'm just thinking ARs across the board. I mean, 3 checkmates. I'm looking at Raid, I'm looking at Miami, and I think this is a place that Aerial Arise would probably struggle pretty well, especially from what we've seen of them. They play really well together and close banded, but the second that they get separated and start having those staggered pushes, I don't see too much success coming out of them. Not to mention going into this checkmate, especially right off the bat, they're gonna have to answer to the name of Glow Frosty, and if that's not a terrifying sentence, I don't know what else is. Not to mention Parasite, and then you're gonna have Venom all over the playing site, which we've seen him do. And I just don't think personally that Aerial Arise's subs are ready to hang with that type of caliber yet.
Well, looking at just how Aerial Arise were able to play higher a little bit on that Garrison Hardpoint, a lot of it, again, came to trades, and that's something we talked about in the pregame. We said Aerial Arise are very good at trading as a team together in Respawn. Like, consistently, it's not one player getting 3 kills and then everyone starts stacking on top of that. It's very much everyone getting involved and helping to break as a team, but they also tend to struggle to close out games. So you're going to have to continue to be that strong of a team as a group of 4 when it comes to the early game in hardpoints. And then Fox, when it comes to closing out hardpoints, is it a matter of taking out Venom and Glow Frosty, or is it a matter of knowing how to outsmart them in small key situations and just winning big gunfights to hopefully get yourself into a position to win the map?
I'm going to say all the above. It's really about staying on your P's and Q's. A matchup against Wester is going to be demanding in the series from start to finish. You need to come with the same intensity throughout the map. Otherwise, they're going to be able to capitalize on those mistakes pretty easily.
And Fox, again, like we look at situations where it's not just about being a veteran for Parasite. It's not just about old players coming down and playing in challengers, but there is a level of fundamentals to this. Call of Duty, while it has changed year in and year out, there are things you do and do not do in terms of certain situations, whether it's S&D or hardpoint. So do you think that extra factor is enough to propel this team just baseline stats over the top when it comes to Western? Because again, fundamentals are there for all these players, and for Aerial Rise, not saying they're not good, but this is their first time at this level. Parasite's been here and been at the top for a very long time. Is it enough in just the fundamental count?
Right. No, I mean, you're leading on to a very good point about Parasite and the fact that he is that player that as soon as you start to step out of line, he's going to say, hello, wake up, we need to get back into this, right? Like, he's not going to let you slip on the fundamentals of Hardpoint, certainly not search and destroy. So I'm really looking forward to see what they can do. I mean, Parasite's coming back down from some time on the Ravens. Take the Pro League and scrimming with the pros is like being in the hyperbolic time chamber. This man's going to come back and do a lot of damage.
Now, Ali, looking at the series as a whole, we've talked a lot about both Aerial Rise, what they need to do. We've talked about what they do well. We've talked about what Wester can do well and what we expect from them. Now I feel like it's just fun time. Let's talk a little bit about what we predict. I said that I think Aerial Rise can win, but at the end of the day, looking at the firepower of Wester, it should be a very heavily favored team in this matchup. I want to get your prediction, both just series count and how you think the overall story or vibe of the series is going to go. Who you taking?
No, I'm taking Wester 3-0 for sure, but my only kind of hot take, I guess, I don't know if it really will be one from what I've seen of Aerial Rises. I feel like the hardpoint is definitely going to be a bit of a closeout, but when it comes to S&D, I feel like that's really where we're going to see a bit of a bite back from Aerial. I don't see them taking the S&D. However, I do see at least presenting a bit of a challenge to Wester. If I've seen anything out of this Aerial Rise team, it's where their S&D is kind of where they're shining a bit right now. And I feel like if they can capitalize on that, you know, they could start making a little bit of a name for themselves. And if I'm Aerial Rise going into the series and, you know, our past series that we've seen them play in, at this point, it's a learning experience for them. It's not really about, I mean, obviously you play to win, you play at your best, you play at your peak every single time. But what I mean mentally is they shouldn't be beating themselves up for the losses that they have gained thus far. They should be taking this as an experience, like seeing where they stand against all these top players, because this is the first time we've ever really seen them, and we're going to see them again next week. So this is definitely time for them to learn, capitalize, get as much VOD as possible, and learn as much as they can from these top caliber teams so that they can come back hot, and then maybe use kind of delayed surprise factor going into the next couple of series.
And Fox, same question to you. Who are you taking in the series and why?
I'm going to go with Wester. I think we got a stacked lineup here, some new excellent additions that would help out any team.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I feel like if I take Aerial Rise at this point, everyone's just going to laugh. So you know what? I'm taking Aerial Rise. I think they're going to win it 3-2. We're going to game 5. We're going the distance, round 11. Parasite versus, let's pick a random player. Why not? We'll put Welly on that board. I want to see it. I want to see the world champion Parasite against Welly. But all I know is that we are excited and we are almost ready to get into the series in the final match of tonight. But this is a big one as well. I mean, I understand that the difference between Wester and Aerial Rise is so significant in terms of just raw skill on one roster and raw skill on another, but it also is important to remember that this is a big match for Wester because you have dropped out of the number 2 or 1 respective spot. Eastern and Wester haven't played each other, but Ali, they are no longer in that top 2 spot. They lost a Fantastic Four, so it does sound kind of stupid. Like, yeah, they're playing a team that's clearly not on their level yet, and they should win this matchup, but I feel like Parasite will remind the team of that. He will remind Frosty and Venom and Zaptius that, hey, we're out of the second place spot. We need to prepare and pretend like this is us competing to stay in the top 2 to relegate for next season. We have to take this seriously. Do you think that he's going to be kind of talking to his guys in the comms like that, or do you think they're kind of laying back in the series and saying, hey, we can 3-0 and this is no big deal?
If I know anything about Parasite, he is a very, very serious competitor. So I do feel like he's probably taking a bit more of a serious persona going into this match, just because he is the type of leader to, you know, kind of feel the hurt of a 3-0 loss, especially to a team like Fantastic Four. Because I know I said, of course, going into this, they probably thought, you know, that game was kind of a troll for us to lose. But if I know anything about Parasite, he's definitely hunkering down on them. Like, yeah, sure, it was a troll, but you guys are the ones that lost. We are the ones that lost. And now we need to go and need a 3-0 this team, or else, I mean, obviously you're gonna have to deal with the hellfire that is Parasite when he starts losing. So I definitely expect, you know, players like Venom and Zaptius, our subs, do tend to be the young guns and do tend to be the little laid back kind of jokers on the team. They're probably, you know, feeling good going into this. Glow Frosty, I mean, I'm getting very into personalities right now, but like I feel like I know this team like I know the back of my hand. Glow Frosty is just sitting back, ready to do what he does best, and Parasite as well. So I'm expecting a pretty calm show out from all of them.
And Fox, looking at, again, the roster that is Wester, I mean, yeah, talk about the original Wester roster that Zaptius leaves, and a lot of people are like, what in the world happened to the team? You had such a great run, you lose once and you're leaving. And it turns out Zaptius kind of owns Wester. He kind of started it, so he leaves, but also means that he stays on the roster. Everyone else has to get kicked off. And then you have Venom saying, I want to stick with Zaptius, so Venom moves over, and then Parasite comes down, and it was supposed to be Venom, Zaptius, Frosty, and Decimate, if I remember correctly, but basically Decimate said as soon as he joined up, he was like, hey, it turns out they need a flex. I can't fulfill that role, so if you can, hit their line. And Parasite is like, I got you, I'm in on that. And Parasite moves in, Frosty gets confirmed. So you're looking at this core group of 4, and again, this is another situation of what we talked about a season ago with the original Wester roster. But now, what can't they do, man? Like every single game mode, they have a strong AR, they have a strong sub, they have a strong IGL, they have a strong support sub. Is it unfair to say that this roster is a bit of a god squad?
I think so, and I gotta say I love the backstory that always comes with Parasite joining a roster. I think it's just going to, add the dramatics a whole lot more. But we're already hopping into the game now. We got Checkmate loading up on your screen. This is map 1, Checkmate, Hardpoint between Aerial Arise and Wester.
And if I speak on Ariel, we're going to say bye to Spaceman for quite a bit as Fox joins me on our casting over this exciting match of the New Blood versus kind of some veterans. I do want to talk about, you know, if I separate Ariel for a second, I separate the fact that they're newer and I separate the fact that they're players that we've never seen before and really just give them, you know, what their win condition needs to be in the series. They have to shut down Venom and Plane. They have to shut down Zaptius. And I feel like that Plane is going to be such a hard point for them to kind of get into, and they need to be able to answer those subs quickly.
Subs right where they need to be right now. Excuse me, they're right alongside Glowfrost. He was running the Krig. He's going to need a bit of support here as Venom comes up, finds the double kill for the team. It's going to be a huge way to open this hill. They're already up by about 20 seconds. No response just yet from Aerial Arise so far. Yuli is the only one without a kill for his squad. Glowfrosty as well on his own, but he was holding the hard point for nearly 30 seconds before finding his first one. Connecting with shots onto Yuli, can't finish the job, so he ends up giving him the double kill. Scrap time still going to Wester, though, as they continue this lead. Not a point on the board from Aerial Arise, and Venom's looking to keep it that way.
Like I said, they need to shut down Venom in this plane, and they have yet to do it as he is 6-2. Finally, he falls, and some good news for Aerial Arise is they were able to keep spawns as none of Wester really kind of pushed out of plane to secure those, but we're quickly seeing the kill feed light up blue as Wester end up collapsing on this Aerial roster who in hill still, and they even pick off Welly, who was trying to play his life in a corner, maybe disrupt spawns just a bit, but this already is not hot start going for the side of Aerial Arise.
Oh, Aerial Arise, we got hate with 2 players just around the corner. He can't turn this. They could also wall bang it. It's so dangerous, and that's why you see Venom pick those 2 up with the quickness. Welly along the side there. Welly got a little bit of a shout out from Spaceman before this game that he was going to be the one going off against Parasite. Fun fact, Welly actually teamed alongside Priesta back in 2014 in Call of Duty Ghosts. But back into the matchup, we're seeing Glowfrosty take point before falling and turning over the hill to Aerial Arise.
which is fine to do as there is only a couple seconds left in that scrap time. But Ariel, I mean, 30-point deficit, nothing too serious, but nobody has exact control of the point right now as there's many members in top playing. Yuli and Welly are trying to make some noise, but Venom's just waiting for them to run to the pre-fire. Like I said, you have to shut down Venom in this plane, and they have yet to do so as he goes on a 5 streak, probably working on to get those streaks as well on his side as he's going to pick up another kill, hopefully on the Welly, but he finally shuts him down. But time, this is just ticking away, going to the side of Western. Venom 13-4. His teammates even across the board, not that they need to be doing much when he's playing like that. Juju finds a 2-piece of his own, finds 3, and clears out Western for the hardpoint just for now, but I don't know how long that's going to last.
Yeah, I'm not sure how long it's going to last. We're seeing Venom at 14-4. Looking to maybe go on another tear this game. We've seen several important multi-kills coming out of him. Zaptius is going to find one of his own and be rewarded with the scrap time here, extending their lead by more than a minute at this point. Rotating back as everyone seems to be set up around yellow already. The kills are going in favor of Wester, and the initial time will go to them as well. Number 7 is Yuli, closest one to the action, but he'll be taken down all on his own. 5 and 6 spawn up. It's Juju and Welly. I'm not sure they're going to be too much competition for the players on Hill that are already set up for it, but it seems they've already turned their backs, and now these two players are able to find an opening kill without any sort of repercussion. Hill player is all alone. The pinch is looming. Juju gets the kill on his own, and again, turning the Hill back over to Aerial Arise.
Huge kills out of Juju to kind of open the map for his team to finally push up out of that spawn as they were stuck in there for a hot minute. Is now a 50-point lead at least on the side of Wester, and it just seems the second that Ariel tried to get a footholding, they just get answered right back with the force that is Wester. I mean, Venom is 17-6, Parasite 11-9. They are making this look like a pub match. Aerial Arise, they are getting their early rotations, but they are just getting picked off and breaked way too easily.
Yeah, triple positive is Venom, approaching 20 kills at the moment. Not a single player from Aerial Arise has gotten to 10 just yet. Juju looks to be the closest one to do it, but Venom's going to put one between his eyes right there. Hill in control of Aerial Arise as Yuli's going to get the first bit of time. He's taken out just that quickly, and it seems the remaining players are afraid to get into the hard point just yet. One does, instantly taken out. That's Parasite coming from the airplane. Looks like the trade might be coming from the bottom side as well. Parasite's going to drop down, challenge them anyway before being traded out. Certainly that's enough distraction for his team to hop onto the objective and follow up the play. You can see Glow Frosty doing just that, but it's Rain and Semtex as one blows up just behind him and takes him out.
Venom finding his way and playing again, finding a couple kills, and the thing I think I'm respecting the most out of Wester currently is Venom gets the 3. You gotta shut him down, especially when he has to swap out the pistol. But back to what I was saying, I'm respecting out of Wester is they're still playing this like a normal map, even though they're up 100 points right now, and Venom is just running his way through this team. They aren't playing, they aren't ego-trying, they aren't taking fights that they wouldn't normally take, and that's what really makes up a good team, is you always practice the way you play. That's exactly what we're watching here out of Wester.
That's exactly what we're seeing out of here, out of Western. Venom is certainly milking the reaping the benefits of it, as you can see. 24 kills, lots of support in the hardpoint as well. We see Glow Frosty and Zaptius at around a minute each. Glow Frosty closer to a minute and a half there. Some machine gun play coming from Yuli as he connects with a nice double kill, but Parasite is there to douse water on that fire. Juju comes up, trying to pick it up as well. Again, Parasite's got your trade. Easy headshot.
With Yuli, they're still trying to fight their way into this plane that usually is pretty a back and forth point, but I mean, Wester, they have just been dominating over Aerial Arise, trying to get their way back into this game. We might have early rotation once again. 15 seconds. Aerial Arise backed up. Play your lives. Go for the full 60 if you're going to do anything. Do not fight for this last 9 seconds of scrap time. And finally, number 5, that's going to be Juju. He'll be first on the point, but all of his teammates are falling, and they're spawning across map. This is what I mean. You needed to back up Aerial Arise. Don't start playing differently now when you were so good at rotating early and getting those first couple of seconds.
We're getting to that 200-point mark in the game, and we're seeing Aerial Arise set foot in the hard point, getting the initial time. We have not seen a whole lot of this out of them this game. It's really been Wester grabbing it and holding on to it for a good minute, but looking to dig themselves out of this deficit. They're surpassing the point where Wester was tripling their score, but all 4 Wester players are coming in from behind enemy lines. It's going to be really tough and up-close engagement as all 4 were able to get this close to the battle. But Yuli, once again with the submachine gun, finds a very timely multi-kill, pouring on top of it with a 3rd kill, and he's going to get more scrap time for his team. That was a huge multi-kill. He's got to be feeling good about that one with a bit of wind beneath his wings.
I just watched Aerial Rise do what they do best. Is like I said, when they play close together onto the hard point, their trades are always done so incredibly well, and we just witnessed that again on this hard point. So we are definitely getting little signs of life out of Aerial Rise. Will it be enough to put them back into this game? Well, we'll have to see, as they are already late on rotation to this underplane, and Wester are definitely looking to punish them for that.
Wester already set up for it. Initial time going to them. Looks like they will be attacked from both sides, from both the top and bottom of the map. We're going to see 4 arrows converge all on to P3. P3 underneath the plane rather than inside of it. And you see the submachine gun players all doing exactly what you expect them to do. You got to have that movement. You need to have the maneuverability in and around the cargo underneath those wings and all the machinery down there. And you see Wester, they're more than comfortable doing just that. Venom just broke 30 kills on his 4 streak. He hasn't set foot in the hill in how long now? That's 6 in a row for Venom. He's able to find yet another series of kills unchallenged. No response just yet from Aerial Rise. Parasite's going to try and take over now. Sat up around crates. He's looking to drop a 30 bomb of his own. At 27 and 18, they double challenge him, and he takes them both down on his own with a quick 1-2 punch. That's 3 that fall.
A lot of commitment needed out of Aerial Rise out here, as they are only 30 seconds about away from losing this first map 1, but they broke 100 points, Fox. I think that's more than most of us expected going into this.
Yeah, certainly not getting a 100-point club is always a good part of the day, and we see them pass that mark here. But Wester, just 20 seconds separate them from closing it out, and it hasn't been close. I gotta say, there have been some awesome moments, mostly coming out of the hands of Yuli. Very timely multi-kills to turn over the objective, but it hasn't amounted nearly as much as the fully asserted effort from all of the players on Wester really contributing. We're seeing 230 bombs. Venom, if he had more time, he could easily get you 40, but he doesn't need it. He's going to end with a triple kill. Wester's going to take map 1.
And I mean, it was a shutout in every right way. I mean, Venom was playing it like it was a pub. I believe Parasite ended pretty close as well, in like 33 to 18. And again, Aerial Rise, there's moments where you're just like, they're starting to do things on the map where I feel like on the side of Aerial Rise, what at least we've seen from them so far is, none of them really standing out, none of them really getting the 2 or 3 pieces. Sure, they played together really well, and I feel like they got their fundamentals down pretty solid. And once they are getting those trades, they look like a solid team. I can see how they got here. But when it comes to that individual gun skill, I just haven't seen anything crazy out of them. But in this match versus Wester, I feel like we saw blips of it. We saw Yuli doing some turn and burns. We saw a couple, 2 pieces coming out of him and Juju, and Welly getting a couple shots in the back. And it's like little stars. It's like little shines of brightness that possibly, if they kind of, get and start working down on and really start focusing on getting that outslaying and kind of pushing towards, they could, start being a better team. And I think, and watching the replay, when I think about Western, I think of how good of a team this is great practice for Aerial Rise. I feel like playing the best sometimes brings out the best. So I hope, if anything, they can take away some learning from this.
Yeah, playing the best brings out the best, that's for sure. I think we saw some moments from Yuli, which shows the potential that this Aerial Rise has at times. But as we kind of said earlier, playing against Wester is a very demanding task. I mean, we're looking at the team that was first place in Stage 1 for the Call of Duty Challenger Series. We saw them placing second place in the playoffs. I mean, these guys came out hot in the game in the first place. They won the first 4 cups. It's an awesome, awesome team. And you're seeing a big highlight reel of what these guys are capable of right now. I mean, excellent contribution from Venom, being the first to drop 30 kills. His damage with the submachine gun really just made his presence known.
Yeah, and again, like I said, Parasite, we're looking at the stats right now. Venom breaking 30 around here, 29 and 12. Zapdius has a minute and heal. I mean, you look at like the small engagements going on inside of Wester when it comes to Glowfrost and Zapdius, and that's just because Venom and Parasite were just kind of steamrolling, They didn't have to do anything. I'm sure they were just sitting back in the objective like, all right, guys, you go have your fun, whatever. And now I guess as we move into the S&D, I'm looking at Aerial Rise to show some life. And I know I'm trying to push for the underdog, and I tend to do this a lot, but they're a good S&D team. I've seen them play S&D, and I've seen them take rounds off of top teams. Do I expect them to take the map? Absolutely not. But I do expect them at least to take a couple of rounds off of Wester.
Yeah, and you might be onto something. Search and destroy tends to be those game modes where the new guys who maybe grind those search and destroy ladders and maybe make that kind of their expertise when they're playing with friends can end up coming through, and they're just used to doing that sort of repetition of that one thing that catches the other team off guard. So we could have an upset here, at least in game 2, but still we need to speak to the strength of Wester. We need to speak to the resolve and consistency of Wester. They haven't really shown those cracks in their armor just yet, Ali.
Absolutely, and I know I talked about it mid-game where Wester, they still played it like they usually would. They didn't play it like it was a pub, even though it felt like it at times. They didn't, ego chow. They didn't take things that they didn't have to take, even though they could have, considering the stat line of the Hardpoint. And I think that's what really makes a good team. Again, you practice how you play, not that this is a practice match, but I mean, even when you know that you are 100 times better than the team that you're playing, you still play properly. You still get the muscle memory and you still get those repetitions in. And I think that's a huge factor when you're talking about Wester as a top team.
That it is, and we can take a look at the maps for the rest of this matchup here. We just came to the conclusion of a hard point that was a pretty one-sided affair. Wester was able to collect the win in the end at 250 to 104. Dominant performances coming from especially the submachine gun in the hands of Venom. Really just delivered it to him there. We're taking a trip to Miami before our next layover. It's going to be a trip to South Beach and Search and Destroy. It should be an exciting matchup for sure. We have some historically stellar Search and Destroy players in the lobby. Parasite jumps out to me amazing. Ali, is there anyone in this lobby that comes to mind in particular when it comes to Search and Destroy prowess?
When it comes to Search and Destroy, I'm looking at Glow Frosty and Venom. I'm just thinking of Glow Frosty watching over Venom as he wreaks havoc and top piano. I'm 100% expecting them to have high KDs overall and being some big playmakers on the map.
Certainly could be true here as we hop into the game shortly. I want to talk a bit about what this means for Wester remaining in the top 2 for North America, right? When you come into this matchup as the toughest team, you have high expectations for yourself, your organization, your viewers at home do as well. What do you think Parasite's saying to the players right now coming off of their previous matchup?
Again, like I said, I take Parasite as a pretty serious competitor, so he's definitely thinking, don't get comfortable, don't start making mistakes. He's definitely making sure everybody's still on their game, but I'm sure he's definitely sitting back a little bit more relaxed now after our first game.
That they are. So we're hopping into Miami Search and Destroy here. This is going to be game 2 between Aerial Arise, and Wester. A lot of the fan favorite at the moment is on the side of Wester. Of course, being the toughest team. On the opposite side, we have Aerial Arise, which is Welly, Hate, Juju, Ulysses. If you're just tuning in, they did drop the hard point to Wester. Hate and Juju have had some experience together. They actually placed top 12 at the Call of Duty Challengers Atlanta event, hosted out there in Georgia. But we're going to take a look, hop into this game here as things are already underway. The action's already unfolding on B site, Ali.
Looking like Aerial tried to play a bit aggressive there, maybe just flood their way in, and it ended up working out just for a moment, but Zaptius catches Nick in the back, so it was a 2v2, but is now down to a 2v1, and Yuli will end up getting cleaned up in the end. So Wester up 1-0 starting in series, but I mean, a little bit of a close round, a couple back and forths. Like I said, trading seems to be the consistent contender of the Aerial Rise team.
So a quick start there, and you're seeing Zaptius, such a powerful submachine gun player. On your round ending kill cam, expect to see much more of him in this game, I'm sure. Switching sides here, we're going to give first offensive round opportunity to Wester. Curious to see what their bomb carrier is going to be coming into the new season here. Zaptius picking it up, and it looks like the team will favor the A side of the map, sending just one player to lurk, that's Parasite, to the B bomb site. They're not going to be met with too much opposition on the A side, but it looks like actually Welly's going to opt to get up close and personal on Tiki. The action in Piano is very slow, as it looks like Parasite's really just playing for the flank. He's just waiting for someone to get out of position. Juju is going to be able to find that first blood on Venom, so things should start to unfold here shortly. Finding that getting first blooded on Beach is never where you want to be. Parasite's going to spring into action and still get shut down by Hate in position with the AR, and it's looking very troublesome for Wester in this opening round, as they have yet to respond, and Glowfrost is picking Hate off from range at the moment, though.
Unfortunate situation for Parasite, because I understand what he was trying to do. He was waiting for his teammates to get the first blood on the A site and hopefully start making that takeover while he watched the flank and the push from the other side of the map. Didn't end up working out. His first blood went down, but not that matters because Glowfrosty and Zapdius find 2 of their own. So what was a 2v4 is now a 2v2, but 25 seconds. Bomb still needs to go down, and Juju knows that Zapdius is here, and I don't think they have time to wrap. Looks like they're gonna try it a little bit, but Bomb has to go down on A, so going at it from another angle, Zapdius is gonna be able to put it down here. Juju, though, has to know of this, but Yuli gets caught out of mid by Glowfrosty, so Bomb goes down. Juju's left on his own. He has to win his gunfight against Glowfrosty. He's not able to hit those shots. Oh, that's so unfortunate for Aerial Arise, what was all going their way, but great composure out of Wester. I mean, Glowfrosty and Zapdius, what a duo to be left in a 2v4.
Yeah, you said it, Ali. That's a hell of a round 2 in this search and destroy. I mean, they slowed it down. Their opening play, the execution kind of failed. Parasite was supposed to be like their safety valve of if things go wrong, then maybe Parasite can get the kill on the flank. But even that died out as well. And in the 2v4, they were able to turn it around, just picking them off one by one, and some pretty well placed shots in those long range engagements as well, especially from that of Glowfrosty. His first one was very nice. Offensive round back to Aerial Arise, though, as Yuli will be taking point with Bomb. And Ali, do you see anything interesting about the number of players on this site in comparison?
I mean, they're definitely spread out across the way, but I'm hoping out of Venom as he kind of just plays for that information and packs up, but we all know Venom is not going to do that, so he ends up getting taken down. Number 7, that's going to be Glowfrosty. He's still top piano, so he's still in a good position to defend this B side. And number 1 on Aerial, I'm just hoping Nick maybe tries to get control from the back. Never mind, he doesn't have to. Yuli turns and burns for the trade, and nobody goes down, so definitely some new life out of Aerial as they are still a 4 up, 2 down on the side of Wester. They now are going to be able to lay this bomb, but we've seen just before this Wester win a 2v4 is now Zapdius and Parasite against the world. Parasite finds 1. Aerial Arise having a little bit of PTSD, but they're still 3 up. Managed to get bombed down, 30 seconds on the clock.
Wester won the rotation. They find themselves in a 2 versus 3 situation in the alleyway. It's going to be Parasite on his own. Not quite enough. I think getting blooded on the rotation right there really made it tough for them. Even coming through the alleyway, they really weren't able to do a whole lot at range, and kind of saw it unfold at that point.
Finally, on the board is Aerial Arise. I mean, nobody's super struggling across the board either. I mean, Welly's 1 and 2, but that's nothing really to make note about. But Venom is starting off 0 and 3, which is not very typical of him. So I'm wondering if he starts to heat up soon, if maybe this becomes a little bit more of a steamroll than we're seeing. Wester, though, they are up 2-1. Glowfrosty sitting at 4 and 2. Zapdius 3 and 1. We're going to see possibly a quick push here over on the side of A. This time it's going to be Glowfrosty that kind of lags behind and goes near towards the B site. Maybe hoping to catch somebody off the cross. Venom, he might see Welly here as Welly makes the peek and Venom sees him, but he gets Parasite without going down, so that's first blood on the side of Aerial Arise. But I mean, we've seen Wester come back from this before, but if you're Aerial, you're definitely feeling good right now. But no rotation called out just yet. Bomb is still staying on the side of the A site. I'm wondering if they're just waiting for some more information before starting to make that commitment.
Seeing Wester get first blooded quite a bit so far in this game. First time it worked out great for him somehow as they were able to 2v4, but that can't be a winning strategy throughout the rest of this map for sure. With the player out on boat able to get that headshot and get out of dodge, you got to imagine that it's going to be a bit difficult here throughout the rest of the map here as Yuli is able to connect with Zapdius at range as well with the AK-74. Welly sat on the boat just around the corner. That's where he found his first kill and hasn't even had to move from that position. It's such a commanding spot to be at on defense.
Bomb is down in the middle of the site. It does finally get picked up, but I mean, he has 9 seconds, and Juju's going to catch him on the cross. He'll get picked down, so the clock's just going to run out at this point unless Venom ends up getting picked off, which he will. So great round by Aerial Arise. If I had anything to tell Wester, it would be to stop going to the A site because it has not worked 2 times in a row now that they've been kind of stuck out there after Aerial gets first blood. So watch that little rip off from Nick. And Aerial, they've now tied up the S&D 2-2. It's something a little bit I was expecting, but Wester, I mean, Venom's still 0-4, is yet to get his first kill on the board, and Aerial's really punishing them for that.
Absolutely, and I think that once we see Venom start to contribute a bit more here, we begin to see Wester pull away from this game a bit more. At this point, though, Aerial Arise is certainly keeping him doing the least he can. Yuli, Bomb Carrier, is going to be moving towards the A site. 2 players to support him. They're only going to meet one in opposition. That's Parasite. He's keeping his distance. playing just on top of the site. Luckily for him, they didn't bum rush this one. That would be a really tough rotation to demand from the remaining Western players on B. Of course, you got to expect that he's making the play call here as to where the players should be positioning themselves. They decide to come over and support him at A. And that ends up being an audible in response from Aerial Arise as they make a trip back through the pool.
This is the perfect situation for Aerial, as they've now 2 members on the side of Western going for the A site, as they had rotated over from B, leaving Glowfrosty and I believe Venom now are there to defend the site, but they maybe waited a little too long as the bomb has yet to make its way into the garage. So I feel like Western started to catch drift of this, that the bomb is not going anywhere near the A site. There's only 27 seconds on the clock. Aerial need to push in. They need to push in now to get this control before they give Western any sort of foothold. And Glowfrosty able to take one, though. Nick, though, does get the shots off, so forces him to back up for a second. Bomb may go down, but here comes the cavalry from Venom, and he gets shut down. And there's a trophy, so unfortunately no cavalry, and the nades go out and the utility is used, and now we see Juju left on his own, kind of out in the middle of nowhere with bomb down at A. Excuse me, B.
Tough ask for him to win a 1v2 like this, especially against Glowfrosty, strongest one in the lobby at this point in Search and Destroy. Western's going to put another point on the board. And look, we get to see some of the damage that he's been able to do this round on kill cam one more time. Everyone's kind of slid past him without or hoping that he wasn't going to be able to connect with enough shots, but he did. He hit just enough and was able to get away with his life. Seeing Venom get his first kill on the board last round as well. You got to imagine that's a recipe for success for Wester, as it looks like they're committing many players up towards the A site. So far, it's all 4. Okay. The call is made at the last second. Glowfrosty will go back and get the bomb. That's a good sign. Very good call to make, I think.
I've seen this way too many challengers where they just forget the bomb in sight and some sort of miscommunication. It's always the kind of higher teams. I believe we saw Rams do that one time yesterday as well. So don't know what's going on there, but we are in a 3v3 as First Blood does end up getting traded out. And another A push on the side of Wester, which I'm shocked because it says yet to work out for them. Zaptius sticks his nade on the top of the roof. That's the last thing that they think he wanted. But now that the information's on the side of Aerial, you see the 2 players. That's going to be Juju and Welly, just kind of waiting for them to push up on this A site. I'm hoping maybe see a bit of a rotation because, I mean, if not, Welly's going to get this First Blood off Zaptius if he does not play this correctly.
Welly playing so close up on this corner, he gets punished for it as Zaptius heads down towards the beach and finds the right angle, connects with the shots that he needed, and Welly is down 3 versus 2, leaving Juju and Yuli on defense just ahead of them at the A site. Yuli's playing close with the AK-74U. If he peeks this, he can stop the plant. He does just that. Trade's got to be coming in, though. They saw it coming. Zaptius there for the relay. Now they're going to go ahead and get the bomb, but again, Juju peeks just at the right time. It's a 1 versus 2. Third attempt at the bomb plant. He can't stop this one. Parasite just around the corner as well. This crossfire is going to be tough to beat, but Juju once again finds the right angle. Movement getting him away just barely. Parasite peppering him with bullets. A well-placed Semtex tags him up even more. If anything, what this is doing is wasting his time, and time is what he does not have. Less than 30 seconds remain, and Aerial Arise, they're counting on you, Juju.
He had to rip Parasite off, one of the most impossible headies, and Juju and Parasite in a 1v1, especially with the high ground. Parasite ends up shutting him down, but I'm definitely scared for a minute. Juju was definitely hoping to rip him off the bomb site once again, but of course Zaptius, with that information of the angle, ends up taking the bomb and rotating it to the other side so he can't get picked off. But still, a little bit of a scary situation for Wester there for just a moment. Venom finally gets on the board with his first kill, and Wester now up 2 rounds in the S&D at 4-2, but Aerial Rise, again, they're still pretty even across the board. Like they said, they are able to hang, even if it's just by a little bit of a thread in this S&D against one of the top NA teams.
And we're seeing Juju from Aerial Arise match the output of that of Glowfrosty on the opposite side. Venom sat in such a cheeky spot here. He doesn't wait and ends up getting 1 kill, still connects with the second one, turning on to Welly. That can't feel good. What an awful way to start the round. Bombs down middle map. They finally get the trade, but at what cost, right?
Yeah, I mean, now they're down 1v4. I mean, I've seen it happen before, but I don't think Nick's going to be able to pull it off here unless he just goes Super Saiyan as he takes down Parasite. He's going to have to take down Zaptius as well, unable to do so. So now Wester are up 5-2, and we're definitely seeing more of a dominating performance, at least in this last round, that we're going to watch this 2-piece from Venom once again. He lets the player run by, and he turns and burns onto Yuli. And, you know, usually in that situation, you think, you know, he kind of holds his trigger finger a bit, let both of them run by, but it's Venom. He doesn't need to do that when he can just turn around and get his shots on like that. So a bit of a burial for Aerial there for a couple of seconds. And 5-2, Wester feeling good going into match point.
He doubled his kills that round. That's got to be a good way to do it. Finds himself and his team at map point. Wester looking very comfortable and looking positioned to take it. They're going to be committing all players towards the B bomb site. One is going to roam through mid. That's Glow Frosty. Keep an eye out for him when they end up sending Juju to commit to the B site with the rest of the team. But the rest of the Aerial Arise players actually push up through the spawn. It's the first time they've done this game. Welly ends up catching them off guard for that exact reason. Hate is also able to catch Venom. Bombs down towards their spawn, and this is falling apart very quickly. I don't think they expected them to push through that way.
I respect that push so much out of Aerial. I mean, what a surprising take. That is the last thing I think Wester ever expected, especially for Welly to be so far behind enemy lines to shoot him in the back. And so that huge distraction by Yuli there in the beginning was just kind of the opening that they needed. And now bombs down, and Zappy's kind of left on his own, but if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Zap as he finds the first shots onto Juju. He does only have 27 seconds, though, to pick up this bomb and make a plant or take out both members of Aerial Arise. So a lot of work to be done for Zaptius.
Yeah, in some ways it's still a 1v2, right? This guy Zaptius is no slouch. I'm sure he could kind of finesse this his way. He's got about 10 seconds to make it over to the bomb. Get this plant off. Two players on the opposite side of the map. They won't be able to put a stop to this one. The retake, though, is going to be 2v1 and certainly in their favor. You got to imagine the Aerial Arise puts this one away. The initial shots onto Zaptius lets him know they're coming.
The only thing that I'm confused about is Aerial did not move until 10 seconds. I figured they knew bomb was down and where it was with the way they were set up, but apparently they didn't, as Aptius got that for free and was able to rotate to A. And I mean, if anything, this is kind of scary. 20 seconds on the clock. Aerial's wasting a lot of time to rotate over to this bomb site. And should Zaptius get this first couple of shots onto Welly, this could be dangerous. The defuse is coming in. Zaptius gets the kill, and he gets his life. No trade goes through. This is just what a top team looks like, and he gets the kill onto Nick. What a way to get that final round as what was supposed to be an easy round for Aerial Rise.
He was just playing with them right there, right? I mean, the fact that he let him think he was going to be able to stick that defuse, he wasted a few more seconds, looking for the other guy, came right back, took him down. I mean, that was just really excellent search and destroy play coming out of Wester from top to bottom.
And at that point, it's just the caliber difference in the players that we're seeing for sure. And like I said, Aerial, they had their moments. You know, that strat where Welly gets behind them and Yuli kind of baits his life out and forces all of Wester to kind of push into it and cause that confusion. You know, it looked like it was going their way, but they just weren't able to close it out. You can't allow a player like Zaptius to get a 1v2 that easily, especially when he still had to get the bomb down. So again, some shining of hope. But Wester, I mean, they're just proving time and time again why they're such a top team.
That's right. That's right. They always give us enough of a reason to remember why these guys are a top team. We can take a look at it again through the replays and just see the kind of damage they were able to do in Miami S&D. A bit of a slow start. You'll see these first two rounds. They get their first two rounds, however. Starting off with the 2v3 from our bottom two players, Glow Frosty and Zaptius. We do see them get first blooded these first like 3 or 4 rounds, but then after that they start to kind of regain, understand what they're up against, and really do a lot of damage from there.
Some of the big problems I continue to see on Aerial is they aren't capitalized on the fact that they play so well as a group together. And once they start getting caught out separately, and once those trades don't go through as consistently, that's when they start to fall. And I mean, again, they're playing a top team like Wester, so I'm trying not to hark on them too bad, but you have to beat the best to be the best. And again, you're seeing lights of hope, but Venom, I mean, that turn on 2-piece, we just saw Zaptius in the 1v2. I mean, these players are of such high caliber individually, and the fact that they are playing together all on the same roster, I will say it a million times over, Wester is looking terrifying.
Yeah, they gave us a good show on that Search and Destroy. It just kind of shows how far and away they are on an individual level against some of these players. Zaptius was really, at times, felt like he just had a presence of more than one player on the map. Someone that, you know, is always going to challenge that engagement and take the win. I think that we saw them work together really well when they were at disadvantage, just getting first blooded. They were able to remain composed and work with the information that they had and come out in the end in a bunch of different situations. Of course, we saw it in the flashiest way possible at the end there. Is there anyone on the opposite side for Aerial Rise that stands out to you so far in this series, Ali?
Juju and Yuli definitely have kind of having their spurts. I mean, especially Juju. I mean, I believe he got a 3-piece at one point where it's just like he looks like he's about to be a real big superstar in this team and make those plays. But again, maybe it comes back to missing that veteran leadership, missing that kind of vet behind like maybe your main AR, just kind of telling, what you need to do and kind of making those in-game calls. And this is a lot of young blood. This is a lot of players that maybe are just running a bit headless around on the map and don't know what to do sometimes. So hopefully, again, they take these experiences and they learn and they get better. I don't know if maybe necessarily they need to make a roster change, but definitely need to kind of dedicate somebody to be that IGL and be that in-game leader, because I'm sure I can imagine the comps between all of them. And looking at the maps one more time, I do believe Western, they're kind of just going to go straight into this control and maybe do a big sweep. After that S&D where I thought Aerial was going to maybe make a little bit of a comeback. I mean, they did get 2 rounds, but I mean, 2 rounds at 6-2, that's nothing really to write home about. So Western looking fantastic, going to go into this control. At this point, Fox, I don't think there's really any win conditions for Aerial Rise. I don't think they can become a new team, not to mention overnight, not to mention over maps. So, I mean, what do you think that they need to do to take away from this?
I think they need to, of course, continue doing what they've been doing, put forth that effort. We see the shining moments of their potential that they have when they're competing in this region against the toughest teams. It's only going to get harder when you play against the other top 3 teams, being Easter, of course. So, this is, I think that we touched on it earlier. You play against the best, and it just kind of demands more out of your own gameplay, which I think is the effect that Parasite has on the Western roster as well, right? When you have a player that's just thinking so many steps ahead of your competition, you can't help but kind of get on that level as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like I said, it's a learning experience from here on out for Aerial Rise. I'm sure at this point, after their past 2 series, just kind of getting drilled into the ground at this point, mentally, they're probably exhausted. And Western, they're feeling good. They had that tough series before this one. And going into this, doing this kind of steamroll, clean sweep, getting, their crazy plays and getting, their hopes higher. Their egos are kind of going back up the ladder. So I'm sure as we go into this control, we're going to see them continue that success.
Yeah, for sure. And again, I think we touched on it yesterday as well, but Parasite, with whatever team he joins, he's just going to make it work. I mean, it's hard to count the guy out. You see it time and time again. And I think that West is going to give us some of the most exciting and oftentimes one-sided matches, I'm sure.
Absolutely. And again, Wester, we can continue to talk at how scary of a team this is. And especially on Checkmate, the 250 to 104, that hard point, we look at the control. We're looking at Glow Frosty, we're looking at Venom up inside of plane. And maybe off of that S&D, I'm hoping to see maybe Yuli, maybe Juju kind of try to answer Venom in that top plane. Maybe it will take 2v1, maybe it will take both of them kind of running at Venom to hopefully shut him down. But I'm hoping to see a little bit of a commitment of something to kind of flip the scripts in their favor.
Wester, all they know is top 2. All they know is winning CDC Cups, placing first in Stage 1. Again, second place, winning $10,000 in Stage 1 playoffs. They look to try and secure their 3-0 victory as we load into Checkmate control. On the opposite side is Aerial Rise, fighting for their lives in this series. It's been pretty one-sided, and we've seen some stellar performances out of the players on the side of Western. We'll have to see if Aerial Rise can come up to the challenge.
And control, I know we talk about S&D kind of being the flip game mode for most teams as they, rise up into the top challengers teams. But I feel like I've seen a lot of control being the flip mode. I feel like we've had more reverse sweeps than we're used to when it comes to this game mode specifically. It always starts here naturally as reverse sweeps do, but because of this mode specifically, it only comes once in rotation. And for some reason, some teams just use that as a momentum push. So who knows? Possibly that could be the flip for Aerial, but as we get in the game, there's not even a tick on A just yet. As we see the lives, still pretty even across the board, but 40 seconds left. You gotta start making a commitment somewhere.
Yes, in our earlier stages, we're seeing Aerial Rise have most of the control of the map on defense at this point. Several arrows surrounding the plane. That's a point of high contention on this map so far. You see a lot of the attention from Wester is going to be on control point A. Coming from the middle of the map is Yuli. Once again, straight just dipping in and out from that plane. He's able to reset some of that progress. Heading back underneath the plane, he's able to catch another body in a different lane, and you kind of see the benefit of having a submachine gun that's able to weave in and out of these lanes and show off their maneuverability underneath the plane because they're able to disrupt the objective so much. Just 10 seconds left in this round, and we have not even seen any tick progress coming from Wester. It's going to be a really tall order for them to close it out from here. You lose on a 5 spree. and no one's shut him down just yet, Ali.
I mean, huge defensive round coming out of Aerial. I mean, this is what I was talking about. I don't know if you saw the stats, but on both sides of Yuli and Juju, I mean, they're going off, and that's what his meaning is coming off that S&D. You know, they were having those moments of greatness, and we talk about control, and I just said it. It could possibly be a flip mode, and that's what Aerial Rise is. Well, maybe hoping to try to improve here by finally getting a foothold in the series, you know, finally getting a solid, you know, we're up 1-0 in the control. That is huge for Aerial Rise right now. Yuli is 9-2, Juju 5-3. They are sitting good across the board. But now it comes down to who can take an offensive first. That usually is the story when it comes to control, is who can take that first offensive. And I don't think Wester is about to give it up that easily.
What a hot start. Great way to do it. Aerial Rise puts 1 point on the board. We haven't seen much of them in the lead in this series, so to come out so hot that way, and especially with the way that players like Juju and Yuli are shooting, it's got to feel great to win the point at this point, though. Yuli is, once again, weaving around the plane and supporting them. Glow Frosty comes through, finally, to trade, take that man down. Venom goes through to interrupt the tick progress as well. Zaptia is fighting his own battle over here on crates. He's tucked in the corner, tagged up, has the support, and is able to find a kill. You see Parasite shooting over his shoulder. What an AR to have behind your back, right? He's going to actually push up and get aggressive on this player now. He's feeling confident. They end up kind of circling one another around the crates there, though.
What looked like a great play out of Wester. I mean, the Aerial Rise, I mean, they've taken the 8 point already. I mean, it's done and gone. Only B is left, and offense is usually so hard to take, and they're making it easy. Juju, unfortunately, takes down Yuli, but I mean, Yuli is 12-4. I mean, is that all this team needed? Is that all they needed is for Yuli to turn on his gears and just start running? Because that is what he is doing. He's starting to shut down this Wester team, but as soon as I say that, the front line of blue starts showing up on your mini-map, and now it looks like they're stuck in a little bit of a spawn trap, unfortunately, on the side of Aerial Rise. But Yuli, he takes down Zaptius. He creates a tunnel for his teammates. Yeah, sure, you got Venom looking down you from plane, but I mean, just slide past it. You'll be fine. That's exactly what Yuli's doing.
Yeah, Yuli finding that kill is like a running back finding his hole in the line of scrimmage right there. He's able to get through. He's rewarded with yet another kill. That first gunfight turning into so much more in terms of map control and influence here, as Yuli is now able to tuck in the corner and wait for the next offensive push from Wester, as they certainly have lost track of him at this point. Several players actually just run right past him. Glow Frosty checking the corner, is able to find him, sniff him out, shut him down. We see tick progress being made on B. They get to the first tier, about to get to the first tier. We'll have to see if they can complete it.
Clean wipe out on the side of Wester to finally kind of push back Aerial, who have seemed to be running on all gears currently, but still, this is not what we expected going into this. I'm sure Wester is just as surprised as we are as casters and as viewers, but one tick progress, 40 seconds to go. This is completely doable. Lives are down 5 on the side of Aerial, but they just need one good push to force all of Wester off of spawn, and they could be able to do it to go up 2-0 here.
I'm looking at Yuli's 14 kills. I'm looking at Welly's 4 kills, and kind of the mismatch in contribution here so far. But they're still bringing it to Wester for sure. I mean, tick progress is being made on B finally, but it's been a long 2 minutes after that first A point was captured.
It was definitely a long journey for Wester to kind of wake up a bit after that surprise coming out of Aerial, and finally only 10 seconds on the clock. Nobody's close enough to get it. Possibly Juju could slide in, but I'm sure he will get taken down before he gets the chance. And never mind, I might not stand by that, but 0.2, 0.1, unable to make it in. But Wester, that was a lot closer than I think any of them would have liked to sign up for.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're seeing Yuli remain consistent from map 1 to map 3. Dude's just, he's always in their face. I think he's certainly keeping up with the pace of Wester, the best out of the players on his team. He got the support of Juju as well. The team shot is there. I'd love to see a damage breakdown of all the players and how they're firing in this game, because I'm sure he's got that in his back. And we're looking at the players on the side of Wester, a lot more well-rounded, I would say. Everyone kind of around 9 to 10 kills on average here.
And the fact that Aerial is still kind of holding up against this team as the side of Welly is 4-13. I mean, that's a pretty good confidence booster for them, at least, if anything. But Wester does seem to be waking up here now, as Venom is trying to find his groove at 12-9, and that's 3 down already for the side of Aerial. Right, some progress starting to go down at A, and the split also starting to come out. So Aerial, they don't want to, the last thing they want to do is get stuck in a spawn trap here, but it sounds like I hear some streaks coming out over on the A side, so that forces Wester to come off. I'm assuming that was the call from Yuli, so a little bit of an investment there. I wonder if that was just too soon because none of his teammates were there to back it up.
Score streaks not having a huge impact in this instance, but they did. It did take. It did not result in Wester continuing to capture A up until this point. We're seeing it contested now. Juju making a huge difference. 1 kill on the first, lots of damage on the second one as Hate is able to support him over his shoulder. Still, he's being attacked from the crate. Zaptius is able to come through for the trade, finishing with a clean headshot. Yuli is where he's been for most of this map, underneath the plane, causing a whole lot of havoc. Just under 60 seconds remain, and we have yet to see Wester capture this A point in either offensive round.
What was Venom's playground in plane has now quickly turned into Yuli. 17 and 9. 50 seconds on the clock, though. Definitely a little bit better than we saw in our first round out of Wester, as they now have a tick at the A site, possibly get that second one in. Progress at B is being depleted, but again, this is looking a lot better for Wester as they get this to progression in. 50 seconds on the clock. Venom finally in his home inside of plane, but Nick Hate's looking to say something about that as he takes down Parasite and Venom. What a huge 2 kills out of Nate. That makes the reset on the side of Wester that much more painful.
Massive double kill, and then look, he was able to get the wall bang on the player just hiding on that corner at control point A. Hate's not going anywhere, and this is exactly where you want him to be, with his submachine gun players running around and supporting him. Take a look at the minimap. Welly, Yuli kind of just roaming and trying to make a play on their own. Yuli ends up falling on his own. We see 3 coming up from the corner, of course, being outnumbered will do that for you. I wonder if Zaptius might have slipped the net here. It looks like he's being hunted by Juju. We'll have to see who comes out on top. He ends up taking him down. That could be big for their presence around the B control point. Finds another gun engagement, but Yuli will come back off the spawn and have his revenge. Welly follows up with a kill of his own. It's just going to be Glowfrosty alone in the middle of the map, surrounded by so many enemies, and Juju will be the one to put him down. A minute left on the clock, and this is really back and forth, Ali.
I mean, a minute left, but you look at the live count. Ariel only has 9 lives compares to Wester's 15. So if Wester just starts getting a little bit more control here in the middle of the map, they might not even have to get into the point, as they can just start killing Ariel as they start to make kind of their comeback. So Romboid or Zaptius in the plane currently just trying to wait for somebody to run past him. We have slowed down tremendously. Ariel, no, they don't have a lot of chances here to shut down this going up in 2-1 from the side of Wester. They need to get all these kills here. They need to make a clean wipe to maybe even it out. They just need to run this clock. 30 seconds. Wester is playing so slow, just hoping to get these life count further and further down. Parasite finds one inside of plane. 20 seconds, so they're going to have to start getting in to stop that clock, and nobody's there to do it. It's Frosty left on his own. He can't peek right now. He needs to play his life, and he ego gels. I don't know why he peeks out, but thankfully his teammates are there just in time to stop that time progression. But Nick, he's looking to run the clock. He's just going to try and contest this and force a bit of Wester out, but they only have 3 lives. They only have 1 chance at this. He finds one, but Zaptius slides and picks him out. The trades go through. It's all up to Zaptius now. He cannot get taken down.
One last life. Welly, you got a 1v8. Real tall task right there. Of course, he's not going to be able to accomplish that one. Wester will eliminate all enemies, all the remaining life pool down to 0 as Wester takes another round and puts a point on the board. Definitely like to see them slow it down there at the end. We kind of saw several players all pre-aimed at once. I have to imagine the play call there was to just slay out.
No, absolutely. And again, we're seeing some life out of Ariel. You know, if anything, they're kind of pushing Wester. I feel like they're at least pushing Wester to do a little bit more on the map than they had to before. So huge out of them to kind of make this comeback, especially being so far in the series, being down 0-2, you know, getting that round off of them. But Wester definitely looking to close out here as they are now on defense, which is typically, again, the easier side of Control to hold.
Yuli and Zaptius being the first 2 players to break 20 kills should not be surprising. They've both had the most explosive moments on this map, but Glowfrosty and Venom are not without their contributions for Wester. You see Frosty kind of taking the point right now on defense for the A site, as he was able to open up with 2 kills unanswered so far. Gonna have to see Ariel Arise answer back here soon. Yuli and Welly do just that, actually. Again, around the plane where they've been the best on this map. Parasite and Venom, though, still responding with shots of their own. Gunfight going down. You see player 6 get the better of him there. Welly still alive. You think he's being hunted by Venom at this point. But you want to see more. I feel like we want to see more presence of the submachine gun players around the plane here in the middle from Wester, Ali.
Absolutely. Well, the thing about that is they just get kept getting shut down. You know, I said it might possibly take 2 members from the side of Aerial to get Venom out of that plane, and that's exactly what they've been doing. Welly and Yuli have been constantly pushing Venom out of plane just because they've been working with that trade. Yes, Welly is 9 and 26, but he is baiting for Yuli. He is fighting in first to chow Venom to get that kill so that Yuli can get that control. I feel like that's been a huge thing going into this map so far, but Wester definitely looking to shut it down as there's no tick progression on either side of the map. A and B have not been taken at all. Streaks are getting called in from Zapdius, definitely looking to close it out as 15 seconds are left. Nobody is close enough to the point. I mean, Wester, they are looking to shut this out.
Yep, so far perfect hold, and they're coming to stop Yuli, who's been, again, the toughest one in the lobby for them to handle. He's approaching 30 kills. He's making that first tier progress. He's the single reason in this instance why the game isn't over just yet. Like, he's really putting a lot of the stress that Aerial Arise has on his own shoulders, calling in Streaks for support as well in the end, but it just doesn't mean anything, and it just doesn't mean much in the grand scheme as Wester able to close it out 3-0. Real lopsided series here.
Yeah, unfortunately, he needed to invest those Streaks maybe a little bit earlier, maybe cause a flip, but Wester, they just looked way too good to look like they were going to get shut down anytime soon once they started getting into their rhythm. Space, I know you watch from the sidelines. If I could give you any sort of consolation when it comes to Aerial, they definitely had their moments. And if anything, Yuli definitely stood out on that map, and Juju had some moments of his own, so I don't think they're down and out yet.
Yeah, that was, again, like, there were moments even in that first round they were able to pull away in game 3. I was like, okay, you know, maybe this is the spark of something. And then yes, indeed, they held in there for a little bit, but this is part of the experience that you get when you're a young roster coming into a new scene like the Challengers Elite Series, where you play teams that are just flat out better than you. And Wester, again, after that game 1, I sat back and said, yep, that's the 3-0 right there. This is going to be a very quick series, and it turned out to be that, and that's just the nature of esports sometimes. Teams are just better. But Fox closing out the entirety of this series and looking at Wester in general, because again, you know, I put it in some of our chats before the game started. Easter had dropped. I believe they lost their series to, I think it was Subliners Academy 3-2, and they were playing Fantastic Four next. So, you know, Easter loses, and now Wester's coming in here. They get a very necessary win. But looking at the entirety of the series as a whole, I'm not really going to talk a lot about Aerial Arise, because again, it was a 3-0 sweep, and it was really more about Wester. Are we seeing Wester kind of just hit their normal medium stride, and they're just going to keep walking through teams like this? Or were there things that stuck out to you that you said, hey, I expect a little bit better in this specific regard? What did you notice?
I still kind of think we see these guys stand out on top. I think any of the kind of blunders we saw in this series are just kind of casual things you can kind of overlook. Sure. Some players are going to pop off. We saw a lot of that from Yuli in this series. That's just his individual ability. I think it's more of a credit to him and his skill than it is, to take away from Wester.
And Ali, this is a big learning curve for a lot of the players on Aerial Arise, right? Like, they didn't have the greatest start to season 2, or to stage 2, I should say. And while they do drop all of their series, and right now I believe they sit at 0-4, so they are the last place team. Yes, it definitely sucks to be in that position, but think about the competition they've been going against. I mean, you go against Higher, and yeah, that team isn't the greatest, but they're no slouches. And now you play Wester to close out the day. That's a very tall order and a tough ask to ask for. And while you get swept out 3-0, you even said there were moments in there, like consolation prize, where it seemed like they were finding positive results and possibly foundation they could work on in the future. Is there anything that stood out to you specifically that gave you a little bit of a smile and thinking they might be able to turn some things around?
Yeah, for sure. And again, I talk about it. I think they are so good at playing close together, and that's a play style that I really respect and I love, being a part of. So, I mean, I definitely have hope for them. It's like watching like little buds blossom. The only thing that sucks being at the bottom of the pool and not being that, talent squad that just comes out and starts ripping into the veterans is it's usually the talks of, all right, well, now one of us or a couple of us just need to start playing by ourselves and kind of just putting up high scores and just, getting in that high KD, going positive, kind of doing what Yuli was in the end to stand out so that we talk about them and we talk about, possibly the split up of this team and putting them kind of in putting pieces to the puzzle somewhere else and, placing them with other players that are a bit more seasoned. And that's always scary, at least, especially when you're a new team, you're coming in, and then you have to start thinking about that. Like, man, we suck together. So now we have to start thinking, like, who's going to be going where, who's going to be doing what? Are we going to start playing separately and playing for our stats? Are we really going to try and make a foundation out of this team? It's a lot of stress on them for sure.
And having the teamwork for such a young roster is actually such a positive. Sometimes even the pros struggle with the teamwork. So the fact that this team looks so well communicated and they look like they're really syncing together, it just comes down to practice sometimes. So maybe we'll see them bounce back. But Fox, your closing thoughts on today's action and the beginning of stage 2 as a whole.
We got a day full of great matches. We got to see the debut of Apocalypse this week. I'd love to see some Express Search and Destroy. The competition looks stacked. Wester's got some competition in the form of Easter, and the storyline of whether or not Subliners Academy will bounce back should be an exciting one as well.
Well, it's been all roster changes for North America. For Europe, it's been a couple, but the majority of the top teams seem to stay in that an upper top 4, top 3 conversation. But that wraps it up for us this week. It is the end of week 1 of stage 2 of the Challengers Elite Series. We thank you so much for watching. It's been Europe in the beginning and North America to close out the day. And while Easter and Wester both fight for top 2 positions, everyone else has been so impressive. And even the young guns at 0-4, so much to be desired and very, very impressed with their performance. I'm sure they'll turn it around. We'll see you guys next week for more action.